It's Luis. This is Sam. To Crazy Latinos.
And we are live.
Woo! What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Two Crazy Latinos. And here we go tonight. Very, very special guest on tonight with us, Cristian Knight. Good friend of ours and stuff like that, but the host of his own podcast, LunchBreak. Cristian, welcome to the show, bro.
What's going on, brother?
Thank you, Luis and Sam, the Two Crazy Latinos, man. Thank you for inviting me.
No doubt, man. No doubt, man. How's everything, man?
Tiring, exhausted, doing the show, working, basically jack of all trades of everything, work, life, everything.
I hear you, man. I hear you. That's awesome, but
plus food. Can't forget the food.
There you go, man. There you go. So everybody here tonight, we talked about a little special treat coming on tonight. I'm not going to let it out, but you'll see in a couple of minutes and stuff like that. So first and foremost, let's catch up with Cristian and see exactly what's been going on with him. So Cristian, again, mi pana, thank you for being on, man. We value and appreciate you so much, man, being here tonight. Tell us, man, so you're cooking, man. I caught a little bit of the live stream a couple of days ago, man. Go into that, man.
Well, first of all, thank you guys for inviting me to your show. That is truly going to be an epic one. You already have one fan.
Thank you. Thank you.
No matter what. But yeah, no, we're starting. Actually, we did start our 5th season already.
Nice.
106 episodes already in the can.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Sin parar. From beginning to end, almost like 2 years and a half.
Nice.
We've done at least an episode every Friday live, unless there was like a holiday or something happening in family. But yeah, it's been growing. We have a little bit of an audience. We're on TV physically. We have a social media, and every single episode, no lie, has been one specific dish, like legit. And the other unique thing about it, it's my first time doing it.
Okay.
Wow.
So, okay.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
never done
that.
a dish ever in my entire life. So it could go either way, good or bad. So
Wow.
that, because like the motto says, the thing is, I got bored of eating the same thing at work, and you guys get the same feeling: pizza, Chinese food, fast food. So it was getting tiring to eat the same thing, and my wife was always saying, she would always make me food and take to work. But listen, I'm a lazy person. I don't like carrying anything in my hands. Hey, listen, I gotta say this is true. But I was like, you know what? I wonder if there's a way to make the same food you do at home at work. So I gave it a try. I would just do it for myself in the beginning. And then what ended up happening is that the smell was going up the stairs to the second floor of the building. And my boss was like, yo, where's this food coming from? I was like, it's my lunch. Like, wait, you're doing that during your break? You're like, yeah, I'm doing it during my lunch break.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
See?
Nice. Okay.
So he legit asked me and said, you know what, you should just do it as a show. So one thing turned to another, and LunchBreak was born.
Wow. That's awesome, man. That's what's up, man. So where did you get your passion to cook? Is this always something you've done? And then answer me this question after, bro. Let's be real. Who's the better cook, you or the wife? I'm gonna throw it out there because I know my wife is watching.
He's trying to get him in trouble.
Listen,
I'm trying to get him in trouble. Why not, man? Don't pick up that listen, man. That's what. My lying with? No.
By the way, I want to give a shout out to somebody who's watching because they're one of the fans up there, Salty, who's watching on Twitch.
Okay.
Just giving a shout out to him.
Nice.
But I'll answer your second question first. Listen, my wife is the boss. That's just period. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay.
Smart answer.
That, she's the boss.
Very smart answer.
She's the main boss. She's the cook. Done. That's it. But my passion, that's a weird one only. My dad used to be a baker for the Four Seasons, the
Okay.
big restaurant one that was in
Yeah.
Manhattan.
Okay. Okay.
Not
Yeah.
the hotel one. It's the one that had the four kitchens. So
Yeah.
there was
Okay.
like three different poultries or dinner. I forgot what it's called. For the lunch and dinner, and he
Mhm.
would do the pastry side. So he was a baker
Ah.
for like
Okay.
20, 30 years
Wow.
before they closed down. Because he actually was there when they first opened up.
Okay.
So he like was there part of it when they first began and everything. And then when I was little, and I don't care if I say this, I don't care who listens to this. Um, my parents used to leave me by myself with my brother,
Okay.
and the thing is that they would leave us, with our aunts, and yeah, you know the thing, they leave us
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
relatives and stuff.
Of course. Yeah.
I was the forgotten child, so my
Wow.
brother would be taken up by his godmother, and I was left to my lonesome to fend for myself,
Okay.
legit. So it was like, what the hell do I do? I was a 10-year-old kid in a house by himself and had no idea what to do.
Wow.
So I started experimenting. I didn't really see how my parents would cook, but I was like, you know what? I need to eat something. So
Yeah.
whether it came out good or
Makes
bad,
sense.
it was more like I needed sustenance. So I learned to go to the supermarket. I learned how to make rice after like the 30th time. Because listen, I did not know you needed to add water to rice. I'll just put the rice in and like make yourself. Like, okay.
Bro, for real? Really?
And then I put too much water and it came out wagao. Like, it literally like,
Well,
it was
wow.
like
Yeah.
rice
Okay.
pudding.
Oh God.
I think that's the reason why I hate rice pudding today. Because so many trials of that and it was bad.
Oh wow.
But I just started to learn. It began with my grandmother. My grandmother in DR, for most of my life was raised in DR, in the Dominican Republic, and I really didn't know how to cook. And there was like a language barrier because I knew more English than I did Spanish.
Okay.
So I really didn't know how to talk back to my grandmother because my grandmother only knew Spanish. But she would point to stuff. So I was like, okay, can you make me soup? All right, water, noodles, done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would always make her that. But then from that, I would experiment. I would add jamon, which is pork, pork chops, eggs, different ingredients. And from there, I just started experimenting and making food that people would be grossed out or would be like, oh, this tastes good. But I always did it for myself, so.
You got
Um,
You got
CJ.
James' favorite. Yeah.
Listen, that's the number one fan right there who actually drove me to make the show
Nice.
because I would make the
Wow.
food
Okay.
all the time. So between Melissa, which is my wife, and James, they're the support pillars that created the show.
Shout out to
James.
James and to the wife, man. Thank you.
I
Thank
see
you
you
for
over there,
also
Trick
making
Fix.
sure that he doesn't burn the rice tonight or whatever he's gonna do. I'm just saying, I'm throwing it
Listen,
out
I
there.
don't do that no more. It's called a rice cooker. I just set it and forget it. Forget that. No.
Bro, that's
Ya
an
yo
easy way
pasé todo
out, man.
eso.
That's an easy way out. You know that, right?
Listen, arroz amarillo, arroz con guandules, bitch, put it in the pot. Done. I'm good.
You're gonna have
I
to
don't
have
watch
talk
it.
after this show, bro. That's all I'm telling you right now, man.
Listen, I experimented with the rice cooker from between making arroz con guandule, what's the other one? Locrio.
Okay.
Locrio?
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, experimented with doing yellow rice, rice with chives to add in more flavor.
Okay.
Adding sausage into it just to get the grease part of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of experimenting. You can go so far with it.
Nice.
That's basically what I do. But for a passion, it really is not that. I'm just, you know what it is? I like experimenting. So
Okay.
I call myself the survivor shelf. So
Okay.
if I make something and it turns out good, that's great. If I make something and it turns out bad, I'm still gonna eat it. Only the reason why, I forget the full quote, but from failure comes success. So
Yes.
I'll taste it to see what went wrong and what I can tweak the next time.
Okay. Okay.
And that's basically how I do it. Because you can't be a so-called chef if
Yeah.
you don't eat your own foods.
That's true. Yeah, that is
You
true.
can't serve it to someone if you don't taste it.
That's true.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
you know that quote. You can flip it. You know, you can flip that quote and be like, you try it, and then in Spanish, you'd be like, "Coño, si lo hiciste mal,
Yeah.
te jodiste." But anyway,
Listen,
that's beside the point.
but I couldn't do that and cook in a Spanish household at my grandmother's. No. You messed up, you better run. Porque la próxima
Yup.
cosa that you get is the fucking chancleta. You missed
I was
it.
just
You
thinking
better
about
run.
that a little while ago.
Yo, no. Listen, they would use whatever, freaking plants, whatever they could get their hands on. Boom, that's it. You messed up, you're done.
Yep.
Sí, yup, sí. Cualquier cosa que se ponen en la mano, done.
Yeah.
That's it.
And most of the time it's either the chancleta or if not the wooden spoon.
Yep.
Louis
Unless
speaking
they-
from experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Not me,
Definitely.
I don't facto growing up, but we won't talk about me.
Yeah, un santo, yeah. Sure.
Why?
Yeah.
It's the truth.
If anyone watching that is
Oh,
Sam's
God.
sibling, we know the truth.
Oh, wow. He just outed you out.
Wow. Joe, how
Do
you
the, do the rewind on there. Somebody do the rewind.
wow, we can't rewind. This is live, man. Oh man, that's too funny, man. Yeah, so James threw a question up there. So he's asking if a cookbook is ever coming out.
So to give an update, because it's been 2 years,
Okay.
there was developed one for the first season,
Okay.
and somehow in the transferring of computers, the whole thing got gone,
Okay.
destroyed. But seeming season 5 is going in a different direction. What I want to actually do now and focus on is getting the best recipes that I've done so far on the show,
Okay.
create that as a book.
Nice.
Because not each
Okay.
one of them was a great. I'm not gonna say they weren't good, but I want to show off the ones that literally looked like you would want to eat it.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
like
So hey, you know what? I tell you what. Since we talking about this, you know what, man? Why don't you pop into your kitchen for a minute, man, and let's throw something up for the fans, man. Get everybody to take a look and see what's up. You down for that?
Let's do it.
All right, so let's go.
Let's go.
Let's
I'll
do
take
it.
the challenge. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Go ahead.
Alright, so
Okay, you're gonna head over to your kitchen, man.
All right. So while he heads over to the kitchen, we're gonna have a short lunch break show. And we're live with lunch break.
Wow, that was short. They didn't let me get the light on and everything. All right, so hello everybody. Welcome to the Lunch Break Kitchen. As you can see here, this is basically where the show takes place. I am your host, Cristian Knight, and of course you have the epic guys of the two Crazy Latinos on watching with you. And to dedicate this episode 4 of theirs, we are going to be making, and I'm going to show you how to do it, an easy meatball parmesan. Now, if you saw that I cut and didn't say hero, is because meatball parmesan doesn't have to be on a hero. No one ever said that. No one ever said that they had to be on a hero. Okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the most easiest, quickest way of doing a meatball parm with using certain items that you already have in your house. So
Okay.
the first thing we're going to do, see me, we're in our kitchen. If you were doing this in the dorm or at work, basically because it's lunch break at work, you can use the microwave. You can use the toaster oven, which there's many different ways of using the toaster oven. even to the fact that you can actually utilize a coffee machine. But we're not doing that today. Not today. Today I'm going to show you how to do it in the kitchen. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to gather a small little pot. And the best thing to do if you're trying to save time is to get whatever items you can already pre-made or already pre-done. So what we have here is meatballs, see, already pre-made. Boom. That saved you the amount of time that it would take you to make these if you were making these at home. I mean, you can pre-plan it and do it the night before, or take it in the next day. It all depends on you on how much time you want to dedicate to your meal, whether it's quick and easy or is it for the next day. That's totally up to you. But on this occasion, pre-made is much easier. So we have that. So the first thing we're going to add into here, and I know everybody's criteria for food is different, so you can tweak any part of this recipe because, like I said, at the end of the day, you're the one that's eating this, and no one's stopping you to change anything. Like, legit. There's no rule that says you got to do it a certain way. Okay, so keep that in mind. So the first thing we're going to do... Yeah, no, it's true. No one ever said you can't change recipes.
Hey, I got a question for you, man. I see
Go ahead.
a bunch of tuna fish cans stuck on the refrigerator, man. I just want to know a little history about that, man. I don't know. That's what it looks like from here, man. I'm just questioning.
All right, so before I start this, these... I'm going to be like Vanna White now. These right here is my wife's quick and easy way of different ingredients that we use commonly most of the time.
Okay.
They're basically in here. Easy access.
Okay, nice.
And they're right there.
Okay.
If we ever run out, we'll be able to see it, and we'll go to our spice rack and use the ones that are on the spice rack.
Yeah, James just said we need smell-o-vision.
Definitely. Like I said,
We're working on it.
he's one of the reasons why we started the show, because of the fact that the smell, legit, no lie, we have a small kitchen at work, would go from 4 different rooms across up the stairway to the next area, and Luz can tell you on the 2nd floor.
Yep.
So that whole hallway was smelling of the one dish that I would do on any Friday. Legit. So,
Coño, ¿dónde carajo estaba yo? Yo, what the hell?
You were too busy with escalations.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. Guess who popped in?
who popped up?
Oh,
Lizette.
Oh, nice. Oh. Listen, I can't see the rest of anything. All I can see is whatever you post on here now.
She said, how's it working? How is it really working with wife?
Wait, me or you?
You.
Oh, great. What are you talking about? She's in the next room. So, pot, meatballs, oil. And like I said, you guys can use olive oil, you guys can use corn oil, whichever your preference is what you use. There's no real right or wrong way. They're just bad food. That's basically it. So I'm going to put a little bit of this, because this is already up to the end. See, you can tell how much I use in here, right? Look, it's already empty. Look. I'm trying to get the little granitos que salgan.
there you go.
There you go. All right. I'm just going to put in a little bit, because we don't need it to actually coat this. What we're going to do is that the sauce that we're going to add into this is what's going to make the meatball portion of our whatever we put together, because I'm not telling you as yet.
Okay.
Right? So I'm going to use my silicone spatula to coat the pan, as you see here. We're going to put medium to low heat, because we don't want this to chipear in our face.
Okay.
Like legit. Because you never know if there's still water in your pot. If you put the heat up too high, this thing will start to spark the water, and it'll literally go through my fake glasses that I have on here.
So wait a minute, what you're telling our audience is that potentially we can actually see you when I was at pictures and I had ojo, and you'd be like, oh, you're like a live effect. Okay, gotcha.
See? Well, because you have to understand, in order to do TV, if I had glasses right now, you would be seeing the glare coming from the light.
True.
True.
See? No glare. I can still see though, by the way.
See, that's my opposite problem. If I take the lenses out of my glasses, I can't see shit.
Well, no, that's why they call contacts. That's my secret.
Exactly.
That's true. All
All right,
I'm
so
in contacts right now, so
that's true. So now we got the heat already to the desired measure that we want. We're gonna put in the meatballs, and now you can slowly start adjusting your heat to the meatballs that are in there, and slowly mix it so they can start coating with the oil that is already in there. Because you gotta keep remembering is that any type of meat product has their own oils that come off when you cook them up.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to mix it too much with the oil, because then all you're going to be tasting is oil. You want the flavor from the actual. I know Jason's laughing. The actual meat to cook up and to drain a little bit, because that's what's going to become part of the sauce that you're going to make for it.
Okay.
And as you can see, look, they're already starting to get glazed.
Nice. What did you season the meatballs with?
Nothing.
Oh, nice. Oh,
Nothing.
wow.
Just the oil. That's it.
Okay.
Well,
Nice.
That's why I say you don't have to go excessive on anything you cook.
Mm-hmm.
It has to just be simple. You're making a nice little like flow over here. Why disturb it? They're all joining together. Look at that. See, they're all friendly. They're all getting look how juicy they're becoming already without any effort.
Wow.
See? Nothing added, not one ingredient, no seasoning, and these are plain meatballs.
Yo, I'm on my way to your house right now, man. I'll be back.
Listen, I'll leave a plate for you already. But that's what it is, though. You don't have to go so extreme on any dish you make. Any dish you make is gonna be awesome to the person who eats it, because why? It's made with love. There you go.
Yep.
I gotta be a little corny and just say that.
That's all right.
So now you have that in there, right? So the next step is to create the sauce that we need to make our meatball parm. So, of course, now you can either use tomato sauce or tomato paste. Now, if you don't have tomato sauce, here's the easy way to make tomato paste into a sauce, right? So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take enough tomato paste just to coat the actual meatballs. Now, I know there's some people who don't like their meatball parm. I don't like it. Soggy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that type of person that likes their messiness in their hand as you're trying to gobble it. I'm just saying. But, you can't, because you can't really, listen, we're adults, but you can't run away from anything that seems explicit. So that's what ends up happening on the show, is that because we've got tailored to be explicit, certain words trigger certain things in our head. So now, as you can see in here, see how this has been coated, right? We're gonna put in the tomato paste right in the center.
And you got about a spoon, like barely a spoonful of.
Just not even like half of one, like half a spoon, right?
Okay.
So we're gonna put that in there, right? And the next thing we're gonna add into this, because the thing is, if you don't put anything liquid into this, what's gonna end up happening is that the tomato paste is gonna start to stick to your pan, right? So what you do?
Don't knock down the tuna fish cans, bro.
Nah, they're magnetic. They stay there. So you do either two things. One, you can either use soy sauce to literally divide the tomato paste, or you can use Worcestershire sauce into it.
Okay.
But you don't want to put too much. You just want to put enough until you hear the sizzle.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I'm smelling it right now.
Right? See, so now this is the time when you put down to low heat. Now you're going to be changing the temperature many different times for a specific reason. Because what you're trying to do is to infuse the flavors into the meatball, but still containing the meatball consistency. Right?
Okay.
So as you can see, vea como ya esto se puso grasa. See?
Yeah.
Okay.
See? The tomato paste has become now a tomato sauce with some grease, because the grease that's coming off the meatballs is basically adding itself to it, right? So now, all we have in here is oil and tomato paste. So now we got to add ingredients, right? Because we got to make things taste good. So you're going to need some adobo.
Nice.
Can't go nowhere without a double, right? Next,
Amen to that.
some cilantro. Because you can't do something Spanish without some cilantro, like legit. Even though this dish is not Spanish, because there's many dishes that are the same, and we all copy each other. The next thing you're gonna do is garlic powder, right? Now, once you added at least 2 to 3 ingredients, what you want to do is mix, because you don't want them to settle, right? You want them to go in, and mind you, if you start to see that this is starting to dry up, that's a good thing, because we want them to literally start sticking to the meatball. And I'll show you the reason for it. Because remember, I don't like soggy sandwiches, but you're going to see that the entire meal that I'm going to prepare for you is going to be all in one, and it won't be soggy. Right? So now, the next thing you're going to add is oregano. So mind you, everyone has their own specific ingredients to add to their own meatballs. Like I said, this is one of mine. So I don't expect everyone to make it the same way. And then next is the black pepper. And all you're doing is just adding a dash. You don't have to go excessive. All you're doing is just adding it for flavor. And as you can see, look how the meatballs becoming. Infused with all those ingredients already.
Nice.
Right? Remember, that's what we want. We want them to be all combined. The last ingredient you're going to need for this, dry ingredient, is sazon. Can't be Spanish without some sazon, right?
Oh, exactly.
Amen to that. Yo, I should be writing all this down. Una hambre right now, bro. It's not even funny. So I'm leaving right now the show.
I'm telling you, I'm going to show you something interesting what you can do, because no one has ever thought about it, or maybe they have. I just don't know. All right, so now, as you can see, all our ingredients is stuck here, right? Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Just from the littleness of what we did. Now, the last part that we're going to do
real quick,
is...
I don't mean to cut
Yes.
you off.
No, go ahead.
Laura Phoenix saying, hey, here, just saying hello to Christian and some support.
Hey, Laura, what up? Yeah, because I can't see the Twitch. Only you can see the Twitch, Louis and Sam. So that's why I gave it to you, because I can't see it. All right,
Thank you, appreciate that.
No, man, what you talking about? We all got to grow together, man. That's how we do.
Definitely.
That's how we do.
Absolutely.
So the last thing you need to add into this is just a little dash of water. Now, mind you, what did I say in the beginning about water and heat?
It was Splash.
I forgot that I'm hungry again, man. we won't go there, man.
So I'm just going to add a little bit.
Okay.
Because a little bit will go a long way. And as you can see what ends up happening to the sauce now? Look, the sauce has been revived.
Put that up a little bit.
And there you go. There's the sous chef right there. There's the wife.
You know, in the house, man. That just came on the
Yeah, she can't hear you because you guys are in my head. Oh, maybe she can hear you from there. I think that was on. So now, look. So now from just adding the little bit of water, look what happened to all the sauce now. Look where's staying.
A little bit more so we can see it a little bit.
So look. See what happened to the sauce?
You're legit confusing me right now. You want to know why? Because I could have sworn today was Friday. I lost track of days.
No, that's tomorrow. So, as you can see, look. See? It came right off the bottom just from the little bit of water that we added.
Okay.
But look, they're all stuck to the meatball.
Wow.
See?
Nice.
And that's what we wanted. We literally want them to stick to the meatball. Because the whole thing that makes a meatball parm is the sauce and the meatball. Not so much what you put in it, but what you eat it with. I can't even say that either. Jesus. Oh my God, I can't. I can't.
I got this. This is my
Top of spaghetti, all covered with cheese.
I don't know that one.
I lost my poor meatball.
Oh, that's what that is? Oh, I didn't. I don't know. All right, so the meatball part is done. Boom. There you go. Ahí lo tiene. Yeah, look. Hey, baby. See?
Damn, bro.
That's what's going to go into whatever I'm going to combine.
Oh.
Right? So now the next thing we're going to need to make is the bread. So now normally some people have sandwich breads in the house, or you don't have sandwich breads, you have hamburger buns, or you have hot dog buns. Because normally you don't have a hero.
Like when you were a kid and you were poor.
Listen, you got to make do with what you have, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Very true.
Right.
Very
So
true.
what resembles the same thing as a hero? A hot dog bread or bun. Yeah, hot dog bun.
It's all about the buns.
I don't have any, so I wouldn't know.
Wow! Wow!
Okay, guys, put your kids to bed.
Wow!
Oh, Lizette saying hi to you.
Hi, Lizette. How are you?
So there's a reason why I chose 6 specifically. So you need to know exactly what you're going to use to put your meatball parm in. So as you can see, 3 can actually fit into here. See?
Actually, you can. Well,
No.
that would be a bad joke.
Don't say that. All right, so I'm going to grab a little bit of the sauce just to put that in there. Right? As you can see now, see? There's no mess to this, right? So now, the last thing you need to do
Last thing you want is a messy bun. Ow!
is add in the cheese. So you put in the cheese, put it just like that, and then, just for Sam, you put it in the microwave.
There you go. See? Right there.
Right? So now, mind you, when you put any type of bread in the microwave, right, don't put it for more than 15 to 20 seconds, only because then you're going to come out with a hard bun.
Actually, there's a trick to that.
Yes. Go ahead.
There's a trick to that. So whenever you're putting bread, or you're heating up bread in a microwave, you can put a glass of water in there to actually create steam to make the bread a little bit more soft, as they say. So you want to just add some moisture into that. So if you add even a small glass of water like this, if you add not that much water in it, the steam from it will actually release and make the bread moist.
Which is also a nice technique to get hard bread into soft bread again.
You mean stale?
Well, stale bread. Right. So if you take a paper towel and dip it in water, rinse it out a little bit, and then wrap the bread or the bagel, and then put it in the microwave, it actually turns that stale bread or that hard
what
bread
you're creating is a steam bath.
into basically a nice soft bread, as if you just bought it from the bakery.
Oh,
Not
wow.
really, because once the air hits it, it kind of goes stale pretty quick. So if you're not going to eat that bread right away,
True.
then it's going to get stale fairly quickly.
So what I'm doing is that I'm doing it in increments. So I just had it in there for 15 seconds. Now I'm adding an additional 10. Like I said, you don't want to put it in there for longer than that, and you want to just check it. Because if you do, like I said, you're going to create a very hard bread. Yes. So now, as you can see, there is your...
It looks so good, man.
Your
melted
balls
cheese.
in a bun.
So there you go. There's your meatball parm and your hot dog bread.
Wow, that looks amazing.
But wait, there's more, as they said. So now,
What balls in a bun? I'm not getting that. What are we doing?
so now, like I said, remember in the beginning, I said that there's no real right way or wrong way of doing any type of recipe. It all depends on you and who's going to eat it. So, plate, tortilla.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
Is that a tortilla?
Yeah, so tortilla. Right? So now, here's two things to keep in mind when you're dealing with flour tortillas. If you don't take out a flour tortilla from the bag, it will stay the way it came in. Right?
Okay.
Don't show the name, but just get the bag.
I know. I've been doing this long enough. Thanks.
That is true. So, as you can see, she's going to bend it. See how it is? But if you take out the flour tortilla and leave it out for a few minutes, what starts to happen is it starts to dry out.
It's the air.
See?
Okay.
So we want the edges to be a little crispy, but without any help from any heat or anything. So now we're gonna take the meatballs, put it right in the center. Same way we did the bread. Get all that nice milk and cranny of the sauce.
Ew. Ew.
Right out.
Am I giving this
No. And then we're gonna place the cheese right on top. right? So we're gonna put this. I know, right? For 15 seconds.
If you can't tell by now, I like singing a lot.
Listen, listen, we're kids from the 80s, so there's always gonna
Why
be
are you
triggers.
giving away my age for? Like, I didn't ask you to tell them what year I was born in, okay? If I wanted to do that, I'd put my freaking ID up against the camera, like, look at my age. I'm 38 and proud, guys, by the way. I'm just saying.
I was about to say, I'm looking to see, I'm trying to see if my age is on my shirt.
It's not.
Oh, dang. So
Same
now,
fool here who can't remember his own birthday. He announces everybody's birthday like they can't remember it.
well, that's true. So now, so you see now it's nice and melted, right? Now, did you think about ever doing this?
No. It's a burrito.
It's a burrito.
Wow.
See? So now you have the inside of this nice and crunchy, right? While still having the middle
Softness.
part nice and soft.
Okay.
See? Now with this, seeming it's still hot coming out the microwave, you can actually put some cheese on top if you want to, or add anything else into it. You don't have to leave it as it is, because like I said, at the end of the day, even if you put in French fries or nacho chips in here, listen, it's all you. You're the one that's eating it.
That's too much stuff going on.
Oh no, this is good.
Wow. Yo, man, that looks amazing, man. And so did the balls and the bun, but we're not gonna go there. But anyway,
Ugh.
wow.
Nice.
And now your date.
That looks
Yeah.
really, really good.
So, while I try to swallow this,
Wow, that's what she said.
oh my god.
Brunch.
My darling wife is going to cut into the meatball parm one that we did with the hot dog bread, so you can see how it's all melted together.
Do I have to?
Yes.
Okay. Now, disclosure here, guys. I don't do anything without asking him first, simply because if you've ever watched any of the other episodes, when I do something, he always gets annoyed. And then you know how I know he gets annoyed? He gives me that stupid look on his face like this.
Yeah, pero nena, you got a knife in your hand, so at that point I wouldn't.
Claro que sí, because you already know when a Latina has a knife in her hand, you don't go there.
I'm speaking
Don't go
from
there.
experience. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just saying, and you're a Latina, you're going in the same. ¿Sabe qué? ¿Sabe? Back up. This is my thing right now. It ain't about you. Just saying. Yo, bro. I'm just saying. So, all right. So we're gonna cut it. Listen, if you can't have fun with your
I'm
spouse,
just saying, this
then
is really good.
you're doing it wrong. That's the way I say it. That's the way. So,
True.
okay,
Absolutely.
Mr. Knight, which way you want me to show it? You want me
There
to
we
show
go.
everything? You want me to show it halfway? You want me to give?
Wow.
You can't
Is
give
that
them
that
everything
shot?
in one shot. You gotta have them coming back for more.
Whoa.
All right, so there you guys go. Look at that.
Wow.
Pretty good, right?
That looks
Pretty good.
really good.
Yeah. I actually have had this before when he's made it. But I gotta be really careful with me specifically, as if you guys have ever watched previous episodes. I have a very sensitive stomach, so certain times of the day I can't eat, and certain things that he cooks has to kind of be modified a little bit. So what I usually do with him is I kind of like inject like what could be an alternative for someone who may have stomach issues or may have a different type of palate. I kind of throw my 2 cents into there, and I guess that's why I've become like kind of like almost like a staple in a sense to the show. And people actually have private messaged him asking him about, hey, by the way, what does your wife give your take on this and that? Because it's all well and good, because I tell him this all the time. It took such a genius person to come up with something like this, because people always think that they have to have these elaborate meals and have all this time to do it, and they really don't.
They don't.
And, you know, especially with working people like such as myself, Chris would tell you, I don't know if he has told you before, but if you guys have watched the previous episodes, I'm a healthcare worker, so you literally work like 14 to 15 hour days.
Oh.
And before the whole quarantine thing, you know, coming home and having to rush to do a meal, that's just frustrating in itself. So to be able to know that you can get what you need to get to eat to feed your stomach that hasn't eaten for like 15, 16 hours in less than 10 minutes, that's just like, you know, that reminds me of when I was a kid, when I was growing up, because my mom, I'm a second generation healthcare worker, so I kind of got that from my mom as well. Like, I would see her like slaving over a hot stove 8-9 o'clock at night, and you're like, you're so tired, but you got to feed your family.
Yep.
So if you have all these things readily accessible, which people don't understand and they don't realize that they do have it, because they're trying to do all these elaborate things, but keep it simple. Simplicity is a lot. Like, the simplest things will go a lot further, in my opinion, than those more in-depth things, and people just take them for granted. So that's how, this whole thing came about. And I kind of, like I said, put my 2 cents in of kind of adapting things differently. And then they're like, oh my God, I had no idea. Even Chris would say, like, I had no clue that you could do that and take certain things out and kind of omit and add and just, and also giving someone to that thing of kind of relating to the fact that, wow, she really gets it. Being a bariatric patient, I tell him all the time I should have a big poster on my forehead of, being a poster child for bariatric surgery, because you're so limited. But you're only limited because you make yourself limited. You got to kind of open your mind to be like, okay, if I'm limited to do this, how can I do this without sacrificing this? And that's kind of where I kind of like got pushed in there a little bit. Besides the fact that he's been in quarantine since March. So it's kind of like he had to like deal with me on a more frequent basis. But it kind of worked out though, because he was like, wow, it just, yeah, I tolerate him. I just do. I tolerate him.
You tolerated him too at work for a very long time.
I tolerate him, but it's a good tolerating, and I tell people this all the time, especially during the don't touch my hair. Don't do that. He's just a hot mess. But I tell people, if you can't do certain things with your spouse in a way where, meaning not like on that level, but just having that understanding and being able to have this interaction with each other, people are like, damn, you guys are literally best friends. I'm like, yeah, we are, because I've known him since I was 14 anyway, but that's besides the point. We have, we've known each other for like, since 96. Yeah. So, when we tell people that, and then we tell people, we're married, and they're like, you guys are married. I'm like, yeah, we are, but I just like the fact that we're able to do this. And I tell him this all the time, that I'm so incredibly grateful to be part of that, because that's something that's just incredibly special, in my opinion. That's just me.
That's awesome.
I don't know what you guys think about that, but yeah. And then, like I said, every once in a while, I kind of interject my little, like,
which is good, because
thing,
the thing is, she has an input that comes from the fact of medical field. And the thing is that, so seeing you saw me do this sauce, most people can't tolerate because it gives them acid reflux.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
and
on that tidbit, when we would do the show, she would be like, say, well, you can add sugar into it. So
brown
this
sugar
way,
or seltzer water, you would actually,
so in this way, it dilutes it and cuts it. So.
Yeah, we had a couple of people actually reach out to me. They're like, oh, can you give me ideas on how to do Chris's, recipe, but kind of like adapt it a little bit. I have high blood pressure. I have, and we always tell people that because Chris also has his health issues as well with his high blood pressure, we know how to deal with that. And we always say, he says the same thing over and over again. You always customize it to what benefit, what suits you. Your palate may be different than mine, but the whole like idea behind it is just to give you just a basis of what to build on. That's what that is.
You see from the shows, I hardly ever use salt in anything, like legit. I don't even use it in rice.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, no, and people find that really weird. They're like, wait a minute, you don't put salt in your rice? I'm like, you don't necessarily have to. Actually, people put salt in the rice to make the water boil faster, so that way it actually cooks a little bit differently. But I think, but that comes from generations when we were raised by our Hispanic grandparents, especially my abuelita, throw some salt in that water real quick, and I'm like, so it became just a routine to do it. But as you get older, and especially when you get involved with someone who has those health issues, you kind of got to adapt to it, but you still want to have that feel of having that arroz con gandule, and you know what I'm saying? Like, but that salt can't be, compromised. But I'm like, but do you use sofrito? Like, hello, you should be using sofrito and your con gandules no matter what, and that's what's gonna add that flavor to it. So you won't necessarily miss that. And then I also tell people during the show as well that just because you omit doesn't mean you're gonna have to miss it. Sure. It's just you have to adapt differently. And he was like, damn, I didn't even think about it like that. I'm like, yeah, because at the end of the day, people have this thing where they think they have to use this. You don't necessarily have to. There's always an alternative, as they say. So, yeah.
And also, too, with when...
Well, that's the whole reason that I provide the knowledge base in the beginning of the program, because it literally states substitutions for different things. Like if some people are allergic to seafood, you can use it with chicken.
There's like a whole thing, like, when he tells me what he's going to be making, I kind of go on my side and I kind of go into a little bit more research to figure out, like, what can I say to bring to the table to let them know, okay, although he's using this, you can use this, and, X, Y, and Z. And I always disclose the fact at the end of the day also that I am not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian. These are only recommendations. However, if you have any questions, of course, by all means, please consult with your direct physician as to what you should be directed. And that's something that's really important that I had to, really stress with him as well, is let them know, listen, you are not a professional chef. You are just a person who likes to cook, because there's a difference between someone who's a professional chef. He just goes off of base of what I call OJ, what we call OJT, which is on the job training, OTJ, on the job training. So it's like, I know how to do this. It's because I researched it, but at the end of the day, go to the professional and, tell them this is what you saw. What can I do in regards to do this? And that's really important that I kind of stress, even with my own stuff that I do in my own pages, consult with your physician, dude, because I am very well diverse in knowing certain things. But when it comes to detail, you got to be really careful with that. But yeah, that's what we've been doing for how long have I been doing? Like since March or April, right?
Well, no, you've been in the show here and there, but consistently since the end of season 4.
Yeah, so I used to legitimately try to leave work an hour early just to get to his job, to get there on time. And I would literally go, it took me about, the way I drive, it's about 7 or 8 minutes. It's technically about a 15-20 minute ride, which I hope there's no NYPD watching me. I'm just saying, kind of do have a little bit of a heavy foot, but I would legitimately make it from where my job was to his job in, time to kind of suit up or whatever else that I had to do. And it was become a little difficult. So now that I'm able to be on the show a little bit more consistent, I've even learned certain things, because I'm like, dang, with the whole quarantine thing and, separating yourselves, especially where I work, you can't have certain things at the job, meaning food and stuff like that. And my schedule is just so bonkers. And then I remember, I'm like, dang, what did he make 2 weeks ago that I could probably make now that I have in my office that I can throw together? And then I start looking and I'm like, dang it. And then you see my coworkers, you're cooking stuff in the microwave. I'm like, yeah. They didn't believe that I could do that. And where'd you learn that? I was like, well, my husband and I, and that's where the whole thing spins off. And then I had a couple people from my job actually tune into his show, and they're like, that's your husband? I'm like, yeah. They're like, dude, he legit cooked the whole meal in the microwave. I said, I told you. That's what we do. You would come over to our house, you would think that we cooked the whole entire meal on the stove. Mm-mm.
Listen,
I want to come over to the house and play with the tuna cans on the refrigerator. I'm just saying. I want to move them around.
Your salt.
I want to put them in the refrigerator.
See?
There you go.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the tomato sauce?
No, this is the actual, all the ingredients in one without the water part.
Oh, okay. So that's tomato sauce.
Well, no, yeah,
by the way, thank you for what you do.
I'm sorry?
With the oil
Thank you for what you do and your sacrifice and everything that you do, that you put yourself out there as a healthcare worker. Because if nobody takes the time to say that, let me take the moment now and acknowledge it.
Oh my God,
in the medical industry, and
I know,
believe me,
the only one that can hear you.
It means a lot. So thank you for what you do, and thank you that you're safe. You guys are sound more than anything else. You know what I'm saying? Christian is an amazing friend. We all share an amazing bond together and stuff like that. And, so believe me, I want to take a minute to say thank you for what you do, because if nobody does, we'll do it here on the show, and we love you, and we love you for it.
Thank you. It means a lot. It's a sacrifice that I feel that is, ooh, you guys got me crying here. I normally don't do that on camera, but, it takes a strong person to legitimately, put themselves out there to sacrifice for another family or for another human being. It legitimately does. I think your headphones went dead. But yeah, thank you. I mean, I do it because I feel it is my calling, and I got this far simply because I have such an amazing support system from Chris, and the fact that I'm doing what I legitimately love, which is promoting healthiness and happiness, and being part of Chris's show is just like a little cherry on top, because it just brings into play of the fact of I'm adding on to what my journey is. So I will continue to just do that wholeheartedly, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's an honor and a privilege to really be part of something that is bigger than what people tend to see what's in front of them. It's not easy. It really isn't. You know, there are days where I get up and I look at Chris and I'm like, I hope to God I come home today. Like, legit. Like, I hope I come home. And then I come home like, there's another win. I'm home. Yay. Okay, let's go for round 2. You know, let's go for round 3. But yeah, definitely. I am grateful that, you know, there are people out there who honor people like myself who make the ultimate sacrifice to take care of the most vulnerable people. And, you know, even when I'm feeling broken down, you know, Chris will look at me, and Chris can tell you, you know, there'll be days where I'll be like, you know, listen, I don't think this is a good day for me to be on the show. And I'll be at the last minute, I'll look at him, I'm like, no, I can't do this today. And then I'm like, you know what? You know, disclosure, I kind of get a little potty mouth, but I'm like, yo, fuck this shit. I got to get myself together. There's somebody out there that I got to touch their life somehow, some way. Even if it's just showing my face, like there's somebody that watches the show and they're like always asking when I'm not there, yo, is your wife okay? And I'm like,
we actually have someone from Sweden and Ireland watching.
Yeah, and they even private message him, hey, by the way, we noticed your wife wasn't on the show today. What's going on? And I'm like, you know, that smile on the face, like, yeah, but deep down inside, I'm like, oh God, you know, this is so hard. But yeah, I thank you so much for, you know, showing that gratefulness, because it takes a special person to be with someone like me, but it takes a special person to do what I do. Not everybody can do it. If that's the case, everybody would be doing it. Legit.
Okay. I got a question for you.
Sure.
Now that you're going into that, has the show for you guys, and especially for you, since you're in the front lines, you know, has the show been therapeutic for you?
Oh.
And then you blend it into your cooking, and then you guys do the show together. You know, not for nothing. And I just thought of an idea, and I think it would be something amazing you guys should do. I think both of you guys, honestly, should probably do a cookbook on both of your styles of cooking. Like, here's one way of cooking, and here's another way of cooking.
He's talking about doing a cookbook about what we do.
That would be amazing.
Definitely. Absolutely. So to answer your question, is it a therapeutic thing for me? I can't even begin to explain how therapeutic it is for me specifically. Working in such a a very crazy environment, to be able to express myself in a way where, like, it's almost like, I'll use the example of people who go to the gym. They usually go to the gym to work out aggressions, right? And usually you see someone just punching at the bag, you know, hands down, just keep going at it. Doing the show with Chris is therapeutic because I'm able to work out the energies that I'm not able to work out when I'm at work. So, you know, although, you know, you have to have this thing when you're at work, especially where I work, where you have to be able to show emotion without showing it, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So, when I'm here, I'm like, so when you see me like cracking the jokes and stuff like that and being all like, you know, that legitimately is, and Chris can tell you, that's me, that's my personality. But sometimes in a crazy environment where I work, it's like you can't do that simply because you have to be like extremely serious, especially when you're doing, you know, either what we call running a code on a patient or running to an emergency. It's like, okay, snap into work mode. And, you know, you can be kind of, imagine you somebody doing like CPR and you're like, hey, what about them Jets? You know, be like, oh. Hey, did you go to the hockey game last week? You're like, you know, there's a time and a place for everything, but just it is and it has. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if you know that, but it is extremely therapeutic for me. I don't know if it is for anybody else. But it's also therapeutic in a way to know that I don't have to stress about having to worry about slaving over a hot stove for 30, 40, 50 minutes, depending on what I want to do. And knowing that the simplicity is there makes it much easier and more tolerable to be able to be like, okay, I don't have to go straight to bed and go hungry because I'm just tired because I don't have the time to cook, really. So definitely it has been 100% hands down therapeutic for me. He probably didn't know that, and now you do. So, it has. It definitely has.
But even with this dish that we just made today, even though we did it with bread and we did it with flour tortilla, you can actually do the same thing and just put this on salad.
Yeah. So which is what I usually do anyway. But like I said, you know, the fact of not having that pressure of having to feel like you have to rush home quickly. And I can tell you there have been situations where I've been like that. I'm like, oh my, I mean, I don't know if guys think like this. I'm just speaking on from a female perspective, but just the fact of having that stress in your head that you're like, okay, now you're caught in traffic. Then you got to think about what the hell am I going to cook? Then you're like, did I take anything out? Then you're like, oh my God, is this person going to like this? And it's like, your head starts buzzing. You're like, oh, and then, but doing the show with him every Friday kind of like, gets like, it just reassures me that I'm like, okay, I know without a doubt every Friday, I don't have to cook. Because dinner's already done by the time I get home.
Not all Fridays.
Well, not all Fridays. There are certain Fridays that we would not.
But because of the show, we've shown not even just to ourselves, to our daughter, how to make a meal very quick and easy. Because legit, we stock.
Yeah.
Things that you can
don't knock down the tuna
put in the
fish,
microwave,
bro.
and those cook out in 90 seconds.
We don't have the tuna fish cans right now, only because
he's talking about
did we get to? Oh no,
he's
oh those are tuna fish cans. He calls those tuna fish cans.
That's what he's talking about.
Okay. I was like, oh, I'm not in the inside joke yet. I just got into it just now. Sorry. No, but and we also, what's so weird about it is, I think we mentioned this before we got married, that how when we would go to our favorite spot that we would go to for vacation, one of the most biggest things that anybody would struggle with when they go to a hotel is what? Food. They got to figure out where to eat, and that's the most expensive part besides the room itself, because then you have to go to a restaurant. Then you have to do. We both actually, when we went the last 2 trips ago, we told the girl in the hotel, hey, by the way, are you guys hungry? I know you haven't eaten dinner. They were like, yeah, we got to go order something. Like, no, don't worry about it. We cooked in the room already. They were like, what? Like, how'd you do that? And we showed her, and she was like, oh my God. She was like, this is going to save me so much time, because her husband is a firefighter, first responder. So she was like, and she actually called us and told us, she was like, do you know that, I showed my husband these different things. And now when we go on our trips, we're actually cooking in the room and we're saving money. And we're like, you never realize how you inspire someone else to actually change their life, even with something so simple as cooking. It's like mind blown.
If you remember in the beginning when I was saying that you can use the microwave, or you can use a coffee machine.
Coffee maker, yeah. Like things that you have around the house that you would never think. Utilizing things that you have in the house in the non-traditional way in order to get what you need is exactly what the show is about. You have a toaster oven. Okay, you can use that. If you live in a dorm, which we already know the freshman 15 is real, and that's because a lot of freshmen live off of ramen for the first year and a half of their career in school. But to know that if you have a microwave, you have a mixing bowl, dude, you're good. You don't even need, to have all that ramen stuff. And although ramen is affordable, which, by the way, I showed him a person who does ramen in a different way. But it's just like, you look at it and you're like, dang, why didn't I think about that? It's because you weren't really open to, thinking outside the box. And that's what Chris's show is legitimately all about, thinking about outside the box.
Even when you used to be small, when you were a young kid and you weren't allowed to use
the stove
or the microwave.
No, not in my household, Papa, because at 6 years old, I was already on that stove. My grandma's like, no, fuck that, you
even
cooking.
Though microwaves didn't exist during that time, right? There was the old school way of cooking stuff, which was...
Where? By fire?
No, if you were a kid. You weren't allowed the stove, and you weren't allowed a toaster oven, right? What would be the next thing that you can use? Because coffee machines weren't like this.
Matches.
Coffee machines were like...
Matches, he said matches.
An iron.
Yo, no. Time out. Yeah. Hold up. Time out. Hold the fuck up. Wait a goddamn minute. Listen, I'm sorry. I grew up in the boogie down Bronx, okay? I was the oldest of 5 girls, and I never, ever had my mother cook on a... No, fuck that shit. Nah, fuck that. Nah.
See, your experience is coming...
You need to tell me you cooked on a fucking iron.
Hold on. Your experience is coming from the fact of city life in New York, right? This is countryside. You don't get those type of fancy things, okay? You get a freaking charcoal from wood.
Oh, no.
And you heat up your toast that way.
Hold on. Where is it? Towel on the plate. Shut the fuck up. Wait a minute. What the fuck does an iron have to do? Why does an iron have to do with cooking outside, bro?
That's how they used to make grilled cheeses.
I love you. But no, Papa.
What are you talking about? I don't do that. That's what they used to do in the countryside.
No, I love you.
I'm saying, that's what they used to do. Listen, in the countryside in DR, because of the fact that you have massive power outages, so you don't have the luxury of power.
No, that is true.
And you have to use velones and freaking lanterns with oil. There was really no much way to cook except for you had these wooden stoves that they created from wood and ashes, and they had this big paila.
No, I get the paella,
But when they didn't have wood, they had to use a heat source. So they would put the iron underneath, put the paila on top, and they would cook like that.
So,
para calentarlo.
okay. So my understanding, and I apologize here if that's the case. If I understood, and I'm going to say it because I can admit when I'm wrong, because I understood plugging an iron in. Not the old-fashioned one that you actually would put on the stove and heat up like back in the 40s and 50s.
No, because there was so much blackouts. There was nothing you can use.
I knew about that because my abuelita used to tell me that all the time.
Before they created powered irons, they actually had the ones where you had
it was an iron.
Yeah, you would put it in the heat,
right?
And that's how you would do it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's similar to the hot comb that before it was an electric hot comb, you would heat it on a heat source and burn the hell out of your scalp. Exactly. You got to put the little Vaseline on the edges so you make sure you don't crispy fry them edges. I'm just saying. You got to make sure the edges don't get burnt.
Because listen, they tweaked that whole iron and they made it into square. That's what it looks like now. There's that weighted scale thing that they put.
Yeah.
Right. That's what that converted into.
Right. So it's similar to, well, I won't disclose somebody who I know, not directly related, but that served time. Said that when you're in, behind not closed doors, but those things that look like this, bars. That's what they used to do. They would make their grilled cheeses like that because they didn't have a fire source. Obviously, imagine them starting a fire in a jail cell. They'd be like, what's going on in there? But I legitimately do that. And they would the women would iron their hair with the irons.
I've seen many different ways that people have used ideas of how to cook stuff. Because like I said, even with the coffee pot, the bottom part of it, which heats up, they've used to make grilled cheeses.
Definitely.
I've even seen people use their engines, the engines that like they get up to that specific type of heat. That's where they cook up fish and meat and a whole bunch of other stuff on it.
Yeah, no, I've seen that before. It's basically like survivalist cooking. Like obviously and this is what we try to tell people too, and he says this all the time, I'm a survivalist. So I learned how to do these things in case, God forbid we didn't have certain things, especially around this time with the quarantine and with the spike going up and not being able to go into stores for certain things. If you have canned goods and stuff like that, you have legitimately like when I was growing up, you already knew if you had rice, eggs, and plátanos, you were good to go.
Listen,
it's just what it was. That if the poor man's meal, you already knew. Ya tú sabes, go get some rice and beans and you good.
Look, even if you didn't have the rest of the products and just had rice, we had to live off rice and ketchup.
Yeah, no.
I've been there.
Yeah, no, we've all been there, but it's funny too because we make people relive their childhood. They're like, "Yo, dude, I used to eat that when I was a kid." I'm like, "Well, now you can eat it as an adult and just kind of tweak it a little, make it a little fancy."
My grandmother would always make, no lie, if I didn't have and I didn't like to eat anything, she would make white rice, tostones or plantanos, fried plantains,
maduro,
fried eggs, and salami.
Well, yeah,
that was the go-to right there.
Because listen. That is bringing back memories because
shout out to Doobie.
See, my nana, my abuelita, I don't know in you guys in your home, but we used to fight over I'm going to say it the way I want to say it because you're going to say it a different way. I'm going to say it. We used to fight over the pegao. Now, are either one of you Dominican?
No,
we're Puerto Rican.
Okay, thank you. Ya tú sabes because we call it pegao. It's not con with pegao. Con with what?
And listen, every time I say that, it sounds more like
pegao.
No, what was it? The show?
Oh, you talking about Law and Order?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Con. Get out of here with that con Diaz. It's pegao. Pegao with ay Dios, not the jackmack, the saltfish, bacalao.
Bacalao.
You make a sopao with that, you good to go. Like you don't need a lot, which is what again Chris's show tells you that you don't need a lot to basically get those needs that you need and to feed your stomach. You just need the basic things in order to satisfy yourself, not going to to bed hungry per se. And even the most people with the most biggest, pockets, they will say, oh yeah, you need to put all this. No, you don't. Stop it.
Listen.
You just put in what I call floof.
Listen, even if you wanted to, if you made these, like the meatball parmesan, if you made them, and God forbid you had stuffing from Thanksgiving, all you got to do to clean this up, put the stuffing, and there you go. No food wasted.
No food wasted in this show at all.
I see that.
Yeah,
You couldn't resist.
Yeah, listen. I tell people
So-
if you're willing to eat survivalist mode, like
So
you're
mind
more
you-
than welcome.
So mind you, this has been here for a while, and anyone who's ever had a meatball parmesan hero or any type of meatball parm,
Guacala.
their entire food, if it would be sitting there and you went and got distracted and whatever and would eat something, would get soggy by the time you come back.
Yep.
Look,
It's still pretty like soft. Yeah.
see, because
That's
there's
because
not
of the
so
sauce.
much sauce
Yeah.
on it, and the bread has soaked it, but not to the point where it's gone through.
Yeah. Yeah, it's survivalist food. Like I think I'm probably, and I don't mean to toot because he is my husband, but I really legitimately feel like I'm legitimately lucky that I have a partner, a husband, a best friend who can be able to like throw something together real quick. Because I think if I didn't, I would probably be as bolder than what I am right now. Just stressing out about the fact of because I got to cook this huge meal because of whatever's going on. He's so simple. He'd be like, yo, you know what? Don't worry about it. I'll just have a bowl of soup and I'm good. I'm like, because I'm like, yeah. Or I'll be like, yo, throw one of your meals together because today's one of those days, bro. Like, legit, it's one of those days. It is. And
I have no preference when it comes to food. I'm not picky. I'm not, like I said before, as long as it is substance to me,
and it doesn't
I'm
have
good.
blue cheese in it.
Yeah, I don't like blue cheese.
Yeah.
I'm not
I
allowed to
slowly
I'm not allowed to bring blue cheese in the house
Listen,
at all.
I slowly started to incorporate back avocados because when I was a kid, I used to eat them so much to the point that I don't know when I stopped
Which,
hating
by
them.
the way,
and
which
getting nauseous.
Hispanic do you know that does not like avocados?
No.
No, beans is one thing. I'm talking about avocados. Like, I don't get.
Yeah, I don't like beans
know
either,
too many
but
people that like
on
them.
occasion
I
I'll eat them.
don't. I
Yeah.
really don't. But then again,
But to my
Listen,
defense,
sometimes
I'll
you
say
get tired
this,
of
to my
that
defense,
food
you
and
guys
you
got a
don't wanna
coffee
eat it.
maker, and I don't have one in
You
my
know what I mean?
house.
you don't have a coffee. Okay, do you have a creca?
No, my mother does.
Wow.
Your mom has a creca.
Do you know that
I know,
that
I
means
know.
something totally different in
I
Dominican?
know. That's why I said,
I made a
pa
coffee maker.
fuera,
Because
pa
I'm like,
fuera.
wait a second. I'm pretty sure she did.
Your mom has one, really?
I'm pretty-
Really? That's cool. Yeah. Wow. That's what she said.
That's the thing, though. My mother's Colombian.
Oh, okay.
So I grew up smelling coffee like it was no tomorrow. So it made me
Oh.
sick in the stomach. So I'm not a coffee drinker.
Oh, you were okay. I got you. He said
I
his
like
mom,
coffee.
his mom would make coffee
But
every
I
day when he was
can't.
younger. Yeah.
Well, yeah, my grandmother
This
was
is for
saying they
Chris.
would give us
Okay, Chris.
this little tiny
Hold on, baby.
thing.
J-
Oh, the other way.
So Jason wants to know you need to sign up for Cutthroat Kitchen.
I would love to, but like I said, I just do this as a hobby and as a passion. I'm not looking for fame or anything. I'm not looking to compete with anybody
Legit,
at
he's
all.
not. He never is.
Listen, if I can educate someone on doing something in a way that they and legit, and I break this on any time when someone says they can't cook, listen, if
Yes,
you
you
can put water on a pot, if you can put something in the microwave, that's cooking.
no,
no
but there
one
are
said-
people who burn water. You do know
No,
that,
no,
right?
but no
Yes.
one has ever
That's
said,
true.
no one has ever said that anything has to be specific cooking.
Correct.
True.
Look at the cavemans. They freaking
They threw things together.
put
Well,
things
no,
in the
no.
in a stone and
No,
put
the
fire.
Cavemen used to, what? Oh.
Well, no,
bad joke. Bad
I'm
joke.
just saying.
Bad joke. I'm gonna
Hey,
I'm
so
really
quick
double.
question for you. What
They would
time is
eat
the
it
show
raw.
on Friday?
What happened?
What time is the show on Friday?
So
people
on
can tune into
on
it.
Fridays we do the show at 4 p.m.
Okay.
Live to basically all the social medias: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch. Which, by the way, we're on Twitch right now. Those are the ones that we get to actually go worldwide. Because like I said before, we get viewers from Sweden, Ireland. I actually got one from China and Japan watching when I was doing the nighttime show. So,
Wow.
it legit, you never know the audience that comes on to you. You know what I mean? But listen, I do this for the fact of if I can literally change the mindset of someone to think that if they can take an egg, crack it, and put it either in the microwave or in a stove or even the coffee machine to cook something, and they can make a meal out of it, they don't have to spend that $8 of fried eggs that they can get outside.
Which is why I said it's therapeutic for me, because it takes away the stress of knowing I have to feel pressure to spend so much money and time on making something when I could just be simple and low budget.
Because what it comes down to is that there's a lot of people who are either, and don't take this the wrong way, who are lazy about it. It's more the fact that there's some people who don't want to dedicate the time to literally put a meal together when they can just get it already done. So I don't judge that.
Accessibility and ease.
You know what I mean?
All it is.
So to each his own, to whoever way you want to do it. But if you can find an easy way, or even when you go to that one point, one day, you know what? I don't feel like buying anything outside. I don't feel like going outside because of what's going on. Let me just do it in the house and see what happens. You never know until you try. How about that? Don't say you can until you try it.
Absolutely.
What do I tell you all the time? Can't stands for what? Confused and not trying.
Oh. I got confused. I'm not trying.
I was told by my recruiter when I signed up to the military in 1998, if you say can't, that means you're confused and not trying. I can't. What do you mean you can't?
I'm going to have to put that on a shirt now.
That'd be a pretty cool idea.
But that's why I do what I do. You know, I'll look at the recipes. I'll see and find out a way of how I can make it in here. And the thing is that I also have to, I don't tweak the entire recipe. I tweak it to the parts where if I can't have something specific, I'll tell my wife, listen, this recipe calls for so-and-so. Should we add it even though it's part of it, or should we just take it out? And I'll do it that way. So because like I said, just because it's a recipe does not mean you can tweak it to however your needs are. Right. If you have a religious belief and you can't eat cow and chicken and stuff like that, listen, tofu is a replacement. Vegan, whatever is vegan part, you can do that. There's nothing in a recipe that you cannot take out and put in. Nothing says that you can't. Nothing legit.
Yeah, you can tweak it. You could definitely tweak it. There's certain things that just don't go together because of the taste of it. But substituting something for something else without sacrificing the taste of it is something that
this only goes for the fact of you personally making this for yourself or for your sibling or for your spouse or for your partner or for your family. Not per se.
Or for your pockets, because
not even that. I'm talking about the fact that you can't do that in a restaurant. You can't tell them to tweak it, but you can tell them to substitute stuff.
Actually,
ingredient-wise, they won't do it.
It depends.
Right, but not all places are going to accommodate.
So the core of it you can't change, but the certain things
not
you
all the places are going to accommodate the fact that, listen, I can't have none of the ingredients. Just give me the chicken plain.
No, not really. No, not really. No, you can. It's just like I said, the core of it. It depends. If the core of it, you can't modify it. But if there's something that they add to it, then yes, you can. You can tell them, I need this omitted. Like with me.
Also, if you're allergic to it too.
Like with me, I would never order chicken marsala.
Yeah, because it has mushrooms.
Right. So I would order what? Chicken tandoori, which is almost the same, but the fact that masala has the mushrooms in it, so I know as a person who's allergic to it not to order it. And
what's interesting is that we've done on the show a chicken marsala without the mushrooms.
Right.
Because the recipe didn't call for it.
So it's chicken tikka.
Right. Chicken tikka masala.
Right. So there's the difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
that is awesome, guys.
Jason, again, says it's not about the competition. I just want to see how you crush the crazy challenges.
Hey, listen, I don't mind that. I literally do not mind because, as you've seen, James has actually put out there sometimes. All right, so you guys are doing it this. I challenge you to do it this way.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we'll give it time. If we have time, we'll do it.
Challenge.
Yeah. That's what we used to do. We used to put on the screen, challenge. It's like, all right, let's do this. If we have enough time, let's do this. We'll whether we'll be successful or end up in failure, but we'll learn that for the next time around, we'll make it better.
Okay. How do you guys pick out your dishes, and how do you guys get to that point? Because you mentioned at the beginning when we were talking actually before the show a little bit, and mentioned when we started, every recipe is different on every show. So,
Yes.
Like, how do you decide? Okay, this is what I'm gonna do, or is it just random
So
that you just start doing something?
so basically, what I end up doing, Sam asked, how do I decide on the episode or in the recipe I make, because of the fact that every episode is unique and this is the first time I do it.
Which sometimes I think he repeats them, so I have to legitimately go back and be like, no, I think you did this
Well,
before.
what ends up happening is I'll look to see the episodes that I've done, just to
Okay.
see if I've ever done it. And then I decide whether, okay, I haven't done this like this, but it's a different recipe, and I'll do it that way. But what I end up doing is that I'll try to get a specific theme per season. Like last season, we were doing traditional stuff of.
Was that last season or the season before?
No, it was last season. So season 4. Well, now you're making me think.
Yeah.
Well, one of the seasons, we
all
basically
traditional.
tailored it to traditional, old school recipes that are handed down. Because the thing is that in order for any tradition to continue, you have to pass on the
down.
knowledge. Even if your family doesn't continue it, it doesn't become a tradition and it doesn't become a recipe from the old school if you don't pass it on to somebody. So what we ended up doing is, for 26 episodes for that specific season, we legit did one from every single culture and the recipe that it consisted of. So this season we're just tailoring it to meals that you can do in the house, but at the same time we let you know and tell you, okay, well, if you're doing chicken cutlet and you need to cook it up, blah 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 blah, you can actually buy chicken cutlet, grilled chicken cutlet that's already pre-cooked, and all you got to do is heat it up.
Right. So
That saves your time.
I think what really is unique about Chris specifically, and I've watched him do this in the background, and I tell people, don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain because you don't know what's going on, type of deal. Chris is methodically organized when it comes to doing what he does. Like, he keeps a notebook of everything that he does, and in the beginning I found it almost a little OCD-ish because I have OCD myself, but it's legit. Like,
Wow.
I don't get it, but it works in his mind and it works for him, and that's what I think what made it so. I think I wouldn't say easy. I think it made it more. How do you say it? Like, more streamlined. Like, it was just more. It wouldn't just use the word
Basically, what
easy.
ended up
I guess.
happening is that on every episode that I do, I take away what was good and what was bad out of it. So in doing so, out of the fact that now we're on the 107th episode tomorrow, I would add something additional that would help me out for the next episode. So if it was the fact that, okay, I was giving shout outs, I don't remember who it is because I'm doing so much, let me write those in there. And then at the same, whatever recipes or pieces of the ingredients that I use that as part of the graphic.
Okay.
Some of the distribution doesn't require certain things, so I have to make a note on that. So I can submit graphics that have the ingredients to this place, but this place just wants the photograph of what the recipe and the dish looks like.
So people don't understand that he's legitimately doing the work of 5 people with only legitimately 1. And the only reason why, like I said, and I made a joke about it before about the fact of how I cut certain things, he's very methodical of the way he wants things done, and it takes a very organized and level-headed person to be like that. But he does all of the work himself.
Graphics, editing, distribution,
uploading,
contacting the people who distribute the stuff.
So a team of people, which most people who do content have,
All
he
the
does
social
it by
medias.
he does it by himself. I mean, I'll help once in a while when it comes to like very little things, but there's certain things that I just look at him like, yeah, no, I don't have patience for that.
Basically, I've created to the point where it's like a copy and paste for me. So if I know that I'm going to do these promos for Twitter, I already have the copy and paste, and all I do is change the episode number and the actual recipe that I'm doing. Copy and paste. Done. Something that took me in the beginning a few minutes to do, now is just copy and paste, 1 or 2 minutes. And then I move on to the next. When it comes to the graphic, I'll do 3 episodes ahead, and boom. I'll have the graphics for the distributors for IMDb, the distributors for the database, for the listing of the schedule. That's already done in the same day. And takes no less than an hour now because of the fact that, as you said, it was consistent. So ever since I broke the barrier, I think at episode 40, they actually assigned 2 people to coordinate all that information, that metadata that we create.
Nice.
and they automatically, not even within 20 minutes, it'll be listed and posted on the actual site.
Now,
James
So-
said CK is ridiculously consistent.
So that
and
turnaround-
yeah, definitely James.
Listen,
he
that
is.
turnaround went from being like that big
Mhm.
to being like this.
Mhm.
You know, but it's just the consistency. You know, right now, we're competing against, I think 25 different cooking shows because we went down a little bit, but 25 cooking shows worldwide out of 1,000,000. 25 we're competing against.
Wow.
You understand? So that's like, holy crap! Not 1,000, not 20 grand. No, 25 programs, and half of it, or I think 2/3 of it, is all Ramsay's. So you would
Gordon
imagine,
Ramsay?
yeah. So what do you imagine? Legit, we're getting the exposure like that, even if it's slowly. It don't matter to me the numbers of the rating. It's
Agreed.
more the fact of I just want to get my show out there and see what can you do different that I can put into my recipe,
Was it?
or teach me how to do
Didn't I
something.
share that with you from the TikTok where that person posted the fact that they said, which resonated with Chris, and he said it, which is true. Just because it's being done on Instagram, there is no other you. So you make it on your way. So they used Rihanna as an example, meaning, well, Victoria's Secret's out there, but she
Right.
came out with Savage Beauty, you know, so there's no other Rihanna. So there may be 5 or 10 other beauty supply stores on the block,
Listen,
but there's no you. So that's where
Whatever
that comes
you
into
do
uniqueness.
doesn't matter if someone else is doing it.
Yeah.
The whole point of you doing it is that it's you
Yo,
doing
yep.
it, and you don't know at the end of the day
Yep.
who's watching and who be interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Exactly.
billions of people in the world, billions. That one person that you're finding that they're like literally trying to look and pursue and research and they don't find it, they find you and boom, now they're hooked.
Nope.
And that's basically it.
Yeah,
Yep.
Joanna
Sure.
said.
No, absolutely.
Joanna said that. That's amazing. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. No, definitely. Listen, there's times that Melissa can even tell you that I would come in and like, you know what? Forget it. I'm not gonna do the show. I couldn't get this.
And
I
what do
couldn't
I
get that.
tell you? Put
And-
your big boy panties on, or put your big boy drawers on, suck it up, and you're gonna do it. And
And then we just do.
put the chef's hat on. We gotta
And I'll
crush
just-
this out.
I'll go into my listings of stuff that I haven't done yet, and I'm like, you know what? Let me see what we have, and then we'll do it. There was even a time when we came here. I think it was like close to 5 something, and it was already past the time because normally we go
Oh, I
live at
remember
4,
that day that we were late.
and we just went on
Yeah.
Facebook live, did
Yeah.
did whatever the recipe was, and did it. We didn't go anywhere
We
else.
did an episode from the hotel in PA.
Yes,
Like, we didn't let it stop. We legit did it from the
and
hotel.
it was smaller
It was
than
way
this
smaller than
kitchen.
this. Like, we had
Smaller
no
than
stove.
even
We
the kitchen at work.
legitimately only had the microwave and the coffee maker.
And what was unique about it is that this hotel had the sink and the microwave right next to each other.
Yeah,
So
right
like,
next
it was
to
just perfect. Like, yo, let's just put the Samsung camera down, and of course, it gives you this nice
360,
wide angle
yeah.
lens, and let's just go ham. And we did sub sandwich bombs.
I remember that.
See?
Yeah.
Sub sandwich bombs, and it was made with the things that we got from
Aldi's, which was right down the block from where we were. We came back to the hotel with a shopping cart full of things, and that's when I told you the lady was like, "What are you guys doing?" We're like, "We're making
we weren't
dinner."
gonna do one, but then I'm like, you know what? Nah, let's do a road trip one.
Yeah,
Let's
let's do
just
a
try
road
to see
trip
what
one,
happens.
yeah.
You know, we ran into technical issues and a lot of stuff, but hey, listen, we still went on, did the show
But
for an hour,
you
and
know,
that was it.
Like I said before, the fact of it being expensive is one thing, but because I have to eat certain things, and let's just, like you said, let's keep it 100. Sometimes when you go to a restaurant, especially in my situation, it's really stressful because then you're so frustrated. You know, like, I don't want to do this, forget it. I'm just going to sit there and just order a glass of water, which you already know, I don't drink water from a restaurant at all. That's another story for another day. But, you know,
I've even shown people who have never done eggs in the microwave because, you know, when you put an egg in the microwave, 2 things happen. One, they're going to explode, and the reason is because you have to poke the yolk. And second, they stick to whatever you use to cook them up. Now, the easiest way to stop that is, of course, one, you poke a hole in the yolk, so in this way it doesn't explode.
pop.
The second thing, before you put that egg in the container, just take a little bit of oil, rub it
or
up against the
even
container,
a little bit of margarine.
and then put it put the egg in the container, and boom,
Remember,
that thing would just slide out.
remember from breakfast from the hotel, we took all like the little condiments, like the
Mhm.
jelly, the peanut butter, and the salt and the pepper, and it's funny too because my parents were with us during that time, and
You made a whole
my
meal.
parents were like, "Oh, that's it. My daughter has turned into the viejita because now she's taking the condiments." I'm like, "No, watch what's gonna happen."
Listen, Melissa ended up making, literally, no lie, a meal from, what was it? It was chicken fingers?
Chicken fingers,
Chicken fingers,
string beans,
um,
and I think dinner roll,
cauliflower rice, and sweet corn.
Yep.
All in the microwave.
Yeah.
And bam, on a plate.
And the most skeptical of skeptical people was with us that day, which is my dad. Like, he is super picky when it comes to
And
certain
it was
things.
seasoned as if you were doing it in a stove.
And we didn't tell him where we got. We were like, "Look, we want you to try this and see what happens." He's like, "Oh, where did you order this from?" I was like,
This one decides to put it in one of those like containers where you know when you order
"The
stuff.
takeout.
She put it in that container. Here's your food.
Here's your food."
Here you go.
And we didn't even tell him until like he finished the whole meal because he would have been really skeptical of it. So when I told him what happened, he was like it made him like backflash because he's like, "Oh my god!" Like, you know, because my dad was before Chris. You know, my dad was the king of cooking in microwaves. Like, he legit would cook in microwaves everything. My mom was the one who would cook on the stove, and then he was like, "Wow, you know, Chris does this as well." I'm like, "Yeah, microwave. It did it." Yeah. He was shocked. Like, he was legitimately shocked.
And I mean, we started off the show legit with a regular toaster oven,
Mm-hmm.
which only had one bar that was working.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, one bar that was working.
R.I.P.
Yeah, because
R.I.P.
we replaced it already.
Foreman grill.
George Foreman grill. See, you remember?
Yep.
And the microwave.
That's all you had.
That's all we had.
Yep.
And I made risottos in that toaster oven, by the way.
Yeah, which, by the way, your boss was like, "How'd you do that?" Yeah, he was shocked. And that's when the
20
whole
minutes.
thing started, like, kind of spinning off. And he was like, "I think you got something with this." And
Because the thing is, I used to make the meals and I would take pictures of it and put it on Instagram. But the show wasn't developed yet at that time. So it wasn't, like I said, until James, Melissa, and my boss are like, "Listen, you need to make a show." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's going to cut into my my work time." I'm like, "You need to make a show."
it turned into the point where
I was like, "Okay."
it turns into a point where his boss was like, "You know what? Because I see the potential in it." And this is why I tell people, when people find something that they know is worthwhile to invest in, they're going to do it. So his boss legitimately said, "You know what? You're to stop your job at this point, and
Well-
for the next hour, this is what you're going to do because I want you to put your
it
stuff
wasn't
out
even
there."
like that. It was literally, I was using my lunch break to
Yep.
do the show.
Right.
Because technically, I'm taking my lunch break. So I'm making my meal
You're
at the
taking
same
your-
time and
you're
I'm
taking
eating.
your hour, even
You know
though
what
it
I
was
mean?
later in the day.
So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna name it lunch break.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
And
Lunch
that's-
break, one word. Doesn't exist anywhere. And there you go.
That's where it was born.
Mm-hmm.
In a little
Yeah,
kitchen
I
in an
remem-
office
I remember when you
in,
first, when
in
you first
Flushing,
started it.
Queens.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's basically it. That's the whole origins of lunch break.
See,
Damn, I was in
that's
that
when you and I was still working over
and
there.
I wasn't smelling none of your food. Clearly, Lewis was getting some of your
Well,
food.
it was happening. Well, actually, when we first started the show, I think we started doing it at 5:00 because that's what we had available for live.
Oh, from 5 to 6.
Yeah, and then when the year passed over, we were actually airing the show on the network because at that time we were still starting out and we were just recording.
Right.
So I was submitting them as specials. So it wasn't until I think 2019 when the show actually started airing on the network. So from there,
Really?
that's what
Oh, wow.
that's when we actually. I mean, we were filming since 2018 in July, but because the Fridays would end up where we basically had a day off on the Fridays, so after 3:00 we were closed.
It was a slow day.
Well, they would tell us to go home, but I was using the opportunity to make the show, and that's where it came from. So when we actually went on and physically on the air for live, we changed the time to 4 because that's what was available, and then ever since then it's been at 4:00. But
Okay.
the thing ever since this whole epidemic, we're not constrained to time. Well, I'm doing it consistently at 4:00 for the Fridays just to keep it going. But we can do a lunch break. Look, you just saw today's Thursday. We just did a lunch break.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm literally trying to change the format and the way that we do the actual show. Plus the fact that now we're incorporating that talk show that we do at night. So we're trying to branch out and do it a bit differently, so in this way we can get more of the audience into it. You know, because not everybody's available on a Friday. Most people are on their way to R&R, basically.
Third job.
You know, so in that respect, I want to be able to introduce things to people where it's a leisure talk show. You know, they can just sit down, listen to. They don't have to watch it, and just mellow out.
And you know, also the fact that there's
streaming
people in
live?
certain professions that may not be able to, watch it at that particular time.
Yeah, we stream it live on Twitch only for now.
Okay.
So it streams at nighttime. There's no specific schedule as of yet because I'm still trying to get a really good PC to run the show.
Okay.
But yeah,
And
once
what's
we
the name
had,
of the show again?
it's actually called Slurpin' Chat.
Certain words.
Listen, it came about the fact of, I don't know if you ever seen the movie that was called Shoot 'Em Up.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So in the movie, there's a scene where he goes into the warehouse and the security guard is literally sitting down and he's watching his screen. And mind you, he's I forgot what his name is. The main character is literally watching him, and the guy just literally leisurely just sitting there, right? And he'll go,
Oh.
and that irked him so bad that he tied him up and literally took his coffee, drank it, and he went. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do that because the thing is, Sip and Chat was taken by billions of people already. People have a restaurant that's called Sip and Chat. There's podcasts that call Sip and Chat. There's applications that call Sip and Chat for drink beverages and mixes and stuff. Like, damn, this is not gonna work.
Is that a lot of ASMR?
I don't know what that is.
James knows what ASMR is.
So it wasn't gonna have a presence if I did it that way. So I said, you know what? That movie came to mind, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna annoy people on the talk show. I'm gonna slurp whatever it is that I'm drinking and annoy them, and I'll chat with them at the same time. And no lie, it literally was a conversation piece.
Mm-hmm.
People will come in, and I don't want to get emotional a little bit. No, because somebody came on with suppressing nightmares and talked about things that were chasing him, and he needed someone to talk to, and I just stepped aside from what I was doing, and the entire chat session was just me and him talking, and people would come in and would cheer him on because he was going through a rough time. He was down on his luck, and these nightmares were plaguing him. They were haunting him wherever he was going, and it was bad to the point where he had to go and live with his mom, and it was just crazy. He literally had so much stuff to vent, and he didn't have no one to vent to. He legitimately said, if you ever come back on, I want to come back on and just talk because you've lifted so much off of me. I never knew nor thought that I could ever do that. And it just like after the live, I was just crying, and I told Melissa, I was like, yo, that made me tear up, and like, damn, this guy didn't have to do that, and it was just like overwhelming because I can feel what this guy was going through, So I was like, yo, even though you think you may have one person viewing or 1,000, that one person is legit gonna connect to you on a level that you may never know.
Sure.
Well, Chris knows that I always say that if I've inspired one person, that means I've done my job right. That's the way I see it. And Chris always says the fact that he doesn't do it for likes. He does it because he loves it. And because he loves it, it comes out much more differently than it's with something that is forced. So if you see a lot of content creators, you'll see when things are forced as opposed to when they're done naturally. Like what you guys are doing right now, it's a very natural environment. So when you do it in a natural way, it comes across very differently, and you can actually relate and connect with someone on a different level, even if they're either 5 minutes or even 500 miles away.
Listen, I've done shows where there was no one watching, and it was just me talking as if somebody was on.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it. Because the thing is, even though I know or didn't see anybody on, this is still going to go on the air. This is going to go on YouTube. So I have to be talking to somebody.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Even if I'm talking to myself in the camera.
And when you think people aren't watching, they are. And, that happened to me when I came to your job to shoot a show.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to like segue real quick, but it was so funny because I never thought that anybody would watch the show that was being done at his job.
She was
and this
recognized.
was and yeah, I was recognized. It was in the most awkward way because we were actually shopping, and I'm standing on the line, and you know when you can feel someone staring at you, and I'm like standing there, and I'm going.
She was recognized.
So I have a problem when people do that. So I'm standing like this, and I'm going. So I'm looking at Chris, and I'm giving him that look, like, yo, I know someone's staring at me, but I don't want to say anything because I know my temper. So I just kind of looked at the side, and the person was kind of like inching like a little bit closer. So my anxiety kicked in, and I said, "Is there a problem?" And the person goes, "Do you know who you are?" And I'm like, "Oh God, yeah." And she was like, "I saw you on blah 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 blah." Some time ago. Now, mind you, this was around the time that, if you guys don't know, I used to weigh 280 pounds. So I was on this show that happened to deal with bigger sized people. And I was already in my journey of starting to lose weight. So I had lost like maybe 60 pounds at that point. So I was a little bit smaller. And she was like, "Oh my God, like you got the same face, but I know who you are." She's like, "I saw you on TV." And I'm like, so when you forget, you're oblivious because you don't realize because you're doing what you love. I looked at Chris and I'm like, "Was I on TV?" And he was like, "Yeah, you were." And I'm like, "When was this?" And then he reminded me, and I felt so guilty because I turned to the lady and I'm like, "I'm so sorry. Like,
listen,
my bad. Like, I didn't know."
I'll give you an interesting one too. You see how sometimes I give shout outs and everything on the show, and I think I think it was season 3. I think that's when we started doing them. So at that time, I was being looked at by one of Melissa's doctors, a pulmonologist, for myself. And, I wanted to give him a shout out because,
that was a great one.
He did a lot for me, because, I have sleep apnea and a whole bunch of other stuff. But, I wanted to, literally give a genuine shout out to
just like our
this
friend
doctor.
did with me, saying that how he was,
So I wanted to give him a shout out on the show. So on the edited version, we always put on the graphic of the person, this and the third. So mind you, fast forward. The doctor, Dr. Lopez, told us, I think, what was it, a few months ago, that actually from us putting him on there, a girl saw him on my show and saw what he does, right, pulmonologist-wise, that her father was going through the same symptoms. So she grabbed his information from there, and when she went to go see him, she told him, the only reason I was able to get my father here was because I saw you on someone's program in a cooking show.
Wow.
And I saw how I can bring him here and take care of my dad because my dad was not doing too good.
Yep, I remember that.
I was like, what?
Disclosure, I work with the doctor, so he even approached me. He was like, because of your husband, he actually helped another patient come to my service. And I'm like, what is he talking about?
Yep.
Of course, again, because when you're doing what you love, you don't realize what you're doing. And it was just like a bing type of moment. And then when he told me he had the conversation with the doctor, I'm like, yo, like, you don't realize who you're going to reach. When you think you're not reaching somebody, you're actually reaching someone, whether you realize it or not. So, Chris and I always tell people, continue to put your content out there, no matter how hard you think it may seem, no matter how much you think you're wasting your time, you're not.
Because I'll support as much as I can.
But it pays itself off eventually, because in time what happens is people will watch old episodes or even current ones. You don't even know who's going to check it. It might be by accident that they're going through feeds and stuff like that. Like, oh, snap. Like, you heard something that kind of caught your ear type of deal. And, something so simple as that, you're able to inspire people without even knowing that you're doing that, which is just such an amazing, it's an amazing thing. It also makes you very humble because, like I said, you don't realize that you are not, I wouldn't say important, but you make a difference in someone's life. And that, to me, is just, I tell him all the time, like, I don't know how you do what you do because it takes a special kind of person to be methodical and to do what he does. It takes a lot of prepping, but because he loves it, he says it's not a task. If that makes sense. Like, it doesn't come out as a task. And,
Listen, I love preparing it. Like I said, I'll create the knowledge base that's needed for that recipe. And I'll have on the sides the shout outs that I'm going to do and the birthdays.
Yeah.
Because listen, that is what makes the show. That is what acknowledges a person in life. At least saying happy birthday to them, saying that you acknowledge them and that they have a presence. Listen, I'll do that. If you believe that you don't have value in this world, listen, I am going to correct that image right now and say, you know what? You exist even to us.
Amen to that, man.
So he's actually, it's funny too, because he's actually trying to convince me, which I'm a little about right now, of me doing my own thing. And I'm like, dude, I don't know about that. Like, I'm good with just like kind of like inserting myself in there when you're doing your show type of deal. To kind of spin off and do my own thing. I don't know if I'm like there just yet. But
I think you are there. You just need to challenge
peer
yourself.
pressure, right? Peer pressure, you know, that type of deal. But
I think you are there.
that,
you just need to challenge yourself. I
what's
think
that?
you are there. I think you are there. You just need to challenge yourself. The way you're saying it right now, and the way you're talking about how you guys inspire, and what you do on a daily basis. You know what? Just what you do alone on a daily basis, girl. Listen, that's inspirational alone. Because that takes a lot.
It does. It definitely does. Like I said, it's just
Listen,
I don't even. Yeah, it's like I don't even. I think, like I said before, when you do what you love, it's no longer a job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's no longer a job, and because you're having fun doing what you do. And like a lot of people ask me, how is it fun, you know, working where you work? I'm like, do you understand that I work where life begins and life ends? Like, it sounds kind of morbid talking about it like that, but it's crazy because when I started getting into healthcare specifically, I didn't think I would be a good fit simply because I'm just such I guess, emotionally involved person. Which is kind of hard to believe because people don't believe that. I also have, which Chris, and I don't mind disclosing it as well, I have a social anxiety. So it's like, I don't look like I do, but I do. Like, I've kind of like perfected of like kind of hiding it per se. But what humbled me in my career specifically, working where I work, was when I delivered my first baby. I legitimately delivered a baby in a bathroom, and I was just like, I didn't realize what I did until after it happened, because I even called Chris and I was like, oh my God. He's like, are you okay? Like, what happened? And I'm like, oh my God. Like, he's like, spit it out. I'm like, I just delivered a baby. He was like, what? I'm like, I just delivered a baby. He was like, where did that happen? I said, it wasn't in the bathroom. It was in a cab.
Right. When she said that, I'm like, wait a second, you delivered my baby? Like, what? What's going on here? What?
But it goes back to the saying that when you're doing what you love, it's not a job. So I think, and I get what you're saying, that I'm there. It's just figuring out what my niche would be, in a sense of I'm almost like I think I do, but I think I'm so much of a perfectionist, and I'm always worried about the fact of, dang it, you know, I want to make it perfect, but then at the same time, when you try to make it perfect, it doesn't come out right.
Yep.
So, you know, just doing it the way it is, and like and it's funny because I used to do my own lives on Fridays Wednesdays, I'm sorry. I used to do live broadcasts from my car because I used to take Chris to work, because my shift at that time was the midday.
And I was the cameraman.
And he was the cameraman. So people actually look forward to the either the Fridays or the Wednesday lives, and because with the whole pandemic going on and my shift had changed and stuff like that, Chris wasn't there anymore. So I was actually doing the live things by myself. And then obviously for mental health reasons, I couldn't do it because I was just in my own little thing of kind of processing what was going on at the hospital. I put it on hold, and I'm slowly but surely kind of bringing it back a little bit. And it's funny too, because the other day, one of the girls who usually watched the live on a consistent basis, she was like, oh my God, I'm glad to see you're back. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I missed you. And I'm like, what do you mean you missed me? She was like, your lives legitimately started my day, because she is an hour behind our time. So she would she would sit down and with her cup of coffee, and she'd be sitting there and sipping her coffee. And she's like, you just give me so much joy. And I'm like, oh, how? She was like, because your vibrancy and the way you are. She's like, and then she asked me, she's like, are you really like that? And I'm like, yeah, like I'm legitimately like that. Like how you see me now is legitimately how I am in person. You know, some people have this thing where they think they have to put this fake front forward for the simple fact of they think that no one's going to relate to them. And people can read through people. People can legitimately see that, oh, yeah, I can see you're like with, I hate to say it, you know, I don't want to put the person's name out there. The person that you mentioned with the other shows. Can I say his name? Is that okay? Gordon Ramsay.
Oh.
Okay,
yeah.
so we all know that Gordon Ramsay is amazing at what he does, but a lot of his shows are scripted.
Mhm.
And when I figured it out, and Chris brought it to my attention, I'm like, now it's not genuine to me anymore. Like, I would not want.
That
It's
caught
not.
me off.
Yeah,
Like,
it kind of threw me
because,
for a loop.
That it was like all entertainment. Like,
Yeah.
listen,
I'm
I'm not doing any entertainment here. If I get burned, I get burned. You know what I mean?
But and it's funny too, because when I looked at it, because I put him on this pedestal of being a professional. I thought that's the way it was, and when he brought it to my attention, I'm like, damn, like, I don't want to be the person that does scripted things, because I'm usually the person that marches to the beat of my own drum, and usually when people are walking that way, I'm like, no, hell no, I'm going that way. Like,
that's the network. That's the network's actually.
That's
exactly
exactly
the script and everything.
Yeah.
right,
Which is the reason why we do the show the way that we do it.
exactly.
And the format that we do it, just to throw this out there for people that are watching. When Lewis and I came up with this concept, we came up with the show concept about 4 or 5 years ago, actually.
Wow.
To do it, and we sat on the format, and we just needed an opportunity to put it out there, and then finally we decided, hey, you know what, we're gonna go, let's go live with Lewis. It was Lewis's idea. Lewis went live. He called me one day. He was like, "Yo, we're going live." I was like, "Okay, let's."
Just ran with it.
Yeah, we ran with it, and I'll tell you something. It's amazing when it's like you said before, when you find your niche and you enjoy it, and it brings your passion out, and it brings your love out more than anything else. That's when it comes out, and it means the most to you. So for me to be able to do this with Lewis, first of all, like I said, to do it with Lewis, and to have you guys on with us tonight, it means a lot to us and stuff like that, and especially that we can share it, and especially, and with Christian, and seeing Christian and stuff like that. I mean, for me, it's been a minute since I've seen Chris.
Oh, wow.
So for me to have a chance to see Chris and to interact with him and stuff like that, and then have you with him, on the show and stuff like that, and when Chris makes something, you're like, it's like, hey, that means a lot, but
yeah.
But seriously, it's special, and never stop yourself. I'll say this to anybody: where you're saying it, follow your dreams. Never stop yourself. Don't limit yourself. There's nothing that you can't do, that you can't accomplish if you don't believe in yourself to do it and stuff. And this is why we're doing it. And this is why you guys do your show and stuff like that. And it's just valuable. And and if you can touch one person, one, that's it.
That's all. Your job is done. Absolutely. And to piggyback off what you said, people have to understand that if Michael Jordan stopped at being rejected, he wouldn't be Michael Jordan.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I hate to use him as a reference too, but if Mark Zuckerberg decided to listen to all those people who said that his idea of having this social media platform was crazy, we wouldn't have Facebook. So the most crazy.
MySpace.
Damn, MySpace. Damn. Anybody know what's his name? Sean or Joel? Anybody know what Joel was, like the main guy? Like, you always got him as your friend. Tom. You know who Tom is?
Yeah,
Tom was always everybody's friend, and it's like, and it was always that same stupid doofy picture that you knew it was not a real person to begin with. It was just like, that type of deal. But yeah, no, I can tell you that you guys are, you're doing an amazing thing. You have a platform where you're bringing it to where people can be themselves, where it's a comfortable space. And when we're living in the world that we're living in now, in such a crazy place that you feel like you can't be yourself, when you have something like this where you feel, well, God, now, not because I have no hair on my head now, as you can clearly see, but I can let my hair down, and I can just let the faja off type of deal, and just kind of like like that type of deal. I don't have to feel like I'm like being all perfect all the time. The life is not always about being perfect. It's about enjoying it, and you doing what you enjoy it shows. And like when Chris told me earlier this week, he's like, I'm going to go on a podcast, and I'm like, oh God, like what are you going to do? You got to prepare. Then he's like, hey, time out, stop. You don't understand. This is how it's going to go. It's going to be like kind of chill type of thing. I'm like, yeah, but you got to make sure this. He's like, no, chill. You got this. Don't worry about it. And then I had to realize, I'm like, damn, you got to be yourself.
And mind you, this thing that I did today, there was no prep.
No.
All I did was, like I said, we were gonna do something simple,
Mm-hmm.
but then for Sam, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna cook. Had the ingredients, put them
For
together.
who?
For Sam.
Where's Dean? He hates when I do that. He hates when I do
It's
that.
not that I hate. There's not say hate.
I'm not gonna. I wanted
No,
to do it, but I'm not gonna do it.
It's
I'm
more.
gonna-
It's,
should I do it?
No, don't
Should,
do it. No,
should I do it?
no.
Should I do it?
It's because of the fact
Do it,
that
do
I
it.
just
Carry
finished.
on my wayward son. Hey, look at his face. He hates it. He hates
Listen,
it. Lay my weary
listen,
head
that show
to
just ended.
rest.
And where is an actual like
Don't
fan
you
for
cry
Supernatural?
no more.
And you saw the ending. It was very powerful.
Yeah,
and
no,
emotional,
yeah, it was.
You know.
Yeah, it. I always do that. That whenever he says Sam, I'm like, "Where's Dean?" And he's like, "Really?" And then I start with that. And he's like, "Oh." But see, like how we are, legitimately how we are. This is legit how we are in person. Like if you meet us in real life, which hopefully when this whole crap storm of a thing that's going on, we'll be able to kind of like meet in person. It's, you know, we had people who met us from social media from another state, and when they met us, they were like, "Oh my god, like you're legitimately how you are on Facebook
Like,
and how you were."
How you expect me to be? Like not myself?
I said, okay, so we're gonna do the Stewie thing. And they were like, "Are you like legit?" Like, and it. They were like, "Oh my god!" To know that we're meeting a real person who legitimately the way that they are is how they are in real life, and I'm like, it's too much work to be fake. It hurts.
Exactly.
It hurts.
Listen, I don't mind that I don't have to go to an eye specialist, you know, to
No,
do
for
my
real,
things.
bro. Really, bro.
I've been trying for years to get him to get rid of that, and because it annoys the hell out of me, it really does. But I mean, that's part of his persona. That's. I mean,
Yeah.
it is. You know, but all that other stuff that you see, the way he is legitimately hands down. And like I said, I'm not saying it because I'm his partner. I'm not saying it because I'm his best friend or his anything. I'm just legit because I know him for that long. I can literally vouch for the fact that what you see is legitimately what you get. And the
Same.
fact
I can
that,
definitely vouch for that.
Yeah.
because I've known him
Yeah.
for God knows how many years now.
yeah, it's but like I said, I'm going to go back to what I said about what you guys are doing is such an amazing thing, and to be Latinos to be doing it in an environment where we don't have a lot of Latinos who feel that they can be
Nope.
who they want to be or feel that they have to dumb it down because society says that they have to. You guys are breaking that, and I think that, you know,
Thank you.
as you know, oh, of course, absolutely, and I can tell on my behalf that I am completely grateful that you gave me the chance to speak here, because you could have been like, "Yo, do me a favor. It's all about Chris. I don't want to hear words you gotta say, you know, that type of deal."
Nah,
But
bro,
you know,
got
you're
blocked.
part of Chris,
I've been in top 6 before. Nah, man, we ain't. Nah, I wasn't gonna tell you no.
yeah, no, I you know, I get that, but you know, you do get certain people who are like, and then I'll be like, "You do not know how this works, like."
Exactly.
Like, do you not? And it's weird too, because Chris will be like, "Hold up," like he won't even ask to be like, and he'll pull me in, and I'm like, "Oh, like, what's going on?" So I'm like, he's like, no, because with me comes her, and at the end of the day, we're a package deal. I mean, although there will be situations where I will kind of pull myself out because I feel at the end of the day it's something that I think he needs to like be more focused on him. But at the end of the day, you know, he will always say this is a package deal. But like I said, I am completely, and I give nothing but thanks to you guys for allowing me to be a part of it. And I think it's like pretty cool because I can sit here and brag about the fact that when you guys become Insta famous, I'm just saying, and you guys are out there signing autographs, I'm gonna be like, "Yo, guess what? I was on episode so and so, and I met them before you, so I know what it's about." So bragging rights, and you know what I'm saying? And to be a part of something that I know in my heart that is gonna be just something that is gonna be way out there, I can tell you, and Chris can tell you, I usually have a gut feeling about these things, and I'm pretty much kind of like on point with it. It's gonna go pretty far. I can tell you that. It is. And, you know, like I said, from a Latina's perspective, I'm a mixed Latina, but at the end of the day, Latinas in my car, I'm just saying, being a Latina and having individuals who are within that background to be an example of what we are capable of doing when we put our mind to it is just an amazing thing. You guys are doing just such an awesome job. Yeah, you already know. Ya tú sabes, ¿sabe qué? You know what I'm saying?
Our culture is bananas.
Yes,
And when
it
we all come
is.
together, and this is beautiful to see when we all collaborate together like this and do it.
Exactly.
Abre los ojos to everybody. It opens up eyes and just
That's
doors
right.
and
That's
everything, man.
right. That's right. We
Everything.
can't we
This
can't
is
be
what
like that
happens
anymore.
when you give Latinos a microphone.
Listen, you
Yeah, this
already
is what
know.
happens
Like
when you two Latinos are mic.
that's it. That's all you need. A mic and two Latinos, and you good to go. Because you already know it's gonna be a party. Because we don't need much to make a party happen. I'm just saying. Oh.
There you go. There you go. Well, listen, guys, it's been amazing tonight with you guys. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts
Chris,
so much
thank you
for
very much, man.
giving us some time.
Oh, thank
Chris,
you
know
guys,
this,
man.
so, you know, we love you guys. You guys are awesome. We'd love to have you on the show.
Man, love to you guys too.
Nothing but
And,
love.
and we'll
I got
definitely catch
nothing but
up.
love
And
for
then
you,
listen,
baby. I got
then
nothing but
listen.
love for you, hon.
And listen, once everything clears up, we definitely got to get together, do something together, figure it out and stuff like that, and then you can bring those magnetic tuna cans you got so I can play with them and I can entertain myself like a
Wait, some
three-year-old.
of the tuna cans?
See, I wanna-
Wait a minute.
Listen, look.
You know?
See?
Oh, wow.
Okay, so you know what I gotta do, right?
Wow.
Because I gotta do it.
Do
Get
it.
his address so I can send him a whole case of
Oh,
tuna
there you go.
cans.
Yeah.
There you go. He said, yeah, go ahead.
I got you. Don't worry about it, son. You can't tell me you like something because I'm gonna be like, yo, let's go. Get his address. That's it. It's done.
She'll do it.
I will.
Listen, we have the packages already over
Already
there.
there.
Oh, you guys are awesome. You guys are
Because
awesome.
we do crafts and stuff.
Yeah.
We got packages that we send out.
Definitely.
Okay. Okay.
It's done.
So
So
when we get off,
just too.
send
Okay.
send her the info. She'll
Yup.
prepare one for you.
That's it.
And she'll take care of you.
That's it. We'll even
Got
put a little
you.
lunch break logo on it.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Oh, so
Because it'll be
because
what?
it's
Lunch break delicious.
wait, no, that's with the food. But that was lunch break. But because it's you, I'm gonna do something unique that I haven't done yet because I haven't finished it yet. But I'll unveil it for you. I'll unveil yours at the moment.
Okay.
So, because that's what that is. The curtain, yeah.
Oh my God, what's this?
All right. So, I'm still working on it. Right?
Okay.
I'm still working on it. So, it's not finished. I'm not going to give you the full details of the project at all. I'm just
Okay.
going to show you yours at the moment because, like I said,
Okay.
the project is not finished and I want to finish it to a certain degree.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I have cards here for a specific reason. So, I am just going to give me a second. Oh, there's.
Aww.
So, what I'm going to be doing is that you've seen from the shout-outs when we give shout-outs.
Wow.
Doing the Vanna White thing.
I thought you were going to put on the gloves too.
Oh, no.
So, what I'm developing is because I've been doing this network of family together, and
Okay.
the only way we can be successful is if we grow together,
That's right.
right?
Absolutely.
So, I've literally come up with a way where I'm going to start implementing it into season 5, this whole shout-out thing that I've been doing.
Okay.
At the moment, I've only been doing it in a way where in the post edits is the only way these people get it besides my word of mouth of me telling people how to do it.
Mhm.
What I'm going to start implementing is QR codes, interactive QR codes, because my social media and everybody is literally, basically LunchBreak is an interactive social media platform for me, which means that people who are on any other social medias, I legit interact with them. It's not like I get a post edit from someone, hey, by the way, Jill said this, or Jack said that. No, it's literally interactive social media into the show at the same time that I'm cooking. So what I'm going to start implementing is because I do the show pre-hand and I know what shout-outs I'm going to be giving. If sometimes I do random ones that I don't know about, the ones that I will be knowing, I'll be able to switch their QR code on the air during the show and put it on display. Which, when I get back to you guys once again,
Okay.
you guys will be on there. So people will be able to scan that code
To go to your page.
and they'll go directly to 2 Crazy Latinos Facebook.
Yo, that's awesome.
Look at their face.
But listen, but there's more. Now, this is not just a regular piece of paper that has a QR code on it.
Yup.
I will be taking this with me
Yup.
wherever I go because on the back I have placed an NFC tag that I can tap on anybody's phone,
Yep.
and they can legitimately go and
And
sign
pull
up
up
to
your
your
page.
Facebook.
Yo, dude.
Yo.
What?
That's all I'm gonna tell you. That's all I'm gonna tell you of the project that I'm building.
Wow.
So in here has the network of people that I've done so far. I can't show you who they are, but that's legitimately every single person in that family.
Look
So-
at that little, they're bugging out right now.
So on your show exclusively, I have just unveiled the project I'm working on.
Wow.
That is amazing, man.
So
That
that right there, two crazy Latinos right there.
Yo,
That
that's
is
crazy.
amazing, man.
Okay.
Dude, thank you so much,
Yo.
man.
No,
I don't
listen,
even know
like
what
I
to say right now.
like I said, it's something that has not been developed, and there's been a lot of ideas that have been all over the place. No, nothing generalized. So
Okay.
I literally generalized the idea of what I'm creating, and this is what I'm going to come out with. Because listen, this is a branch of technology that is not being taken advantage of, and it's slowly creeping
Which
out
is
there.
strange because of what we're going through right now
Right,
with the
so
pandemic.
It's
you would
slowly
think.
Yeah.
creeping
Yeah.
out. So before anyone gets a hand of it or gets out of hand, before we can do any, I'm gonna use it to do all support for us.
That's
So
You know why?
I'm gonna
man.
put it
That is
right on the side. So the
That
same
is
way you
awesome.
see commercials and stuff like that, it'll be a shout out for the person, and it'll be listed right there.
Yeah, James says he's
One
a
hand
wizard.
washes the other.
Amen to
Love it.
that, man. Amen
He's a
to
wizard.
that.
Listen, I'm like Johnny Five, man. I need input. I'm
'Cause you're
always
what?
learning.
You're alive.
Listen, this is what I am doing every single thing at night. Researching, developing, creating things to support us to be successful together.
Thank
That's
you.
basically it.
Man. Absolutely.
One hand washes the
Listen,
other. Both
we
hands
need
what?
to have a conversation, obviously
Yeah.
off camera, man, and we can come up with some concepts, man, that I think would be just wild to come up with, man. And I think we could pull those up. And you're right, man. It's all about the support.
And
Yep.
Chris,
It's all
you
about
and I have
supporting
been talking
everybody.
about this for years.
Yep.
Too.
Yeah, man.
Yep. That's why certain things that you learn along the way puts into that bigger piece of the puzzle. So
Yeah.
when I see the completion of it or a portion that I can do now, I'll do that and I'll tackle it. Because there's going to be more later until it becomes this whole gigantic masterpiece that is just going to be so overwhelming that people have no other way to just like, you know what? Put me in.
Yep.
That's it. Just put me in.
I want in on that, bro. Like, what can I do to get in on that? I want stock in that. Like, I can see
And-
people
and it's
coming.
not-
I can see people coming out to the point where they were like, "Yo, so two crazy Latinos, right? Like, you got this whole empire thing going. So guess what? I want in. Like, bro, what can I do to invest in your stuff? Like
I
what's,
said,
let me know."
this stuff is not for me to.
Absolutely.
Anything that I'm doing is not for me to gain anything from it. It's not to make any money off it. I really don't care about none of that. I care about the knowledge that can be passed on to someone else because of the fact that, hey, listen, if I learned all of this, I don't want you to go through the trouble of trying to waste your time, and not the offense of wasting your time to research this. If I researched it already and I've got it to this much here,
Yep.
this is what I learned that works and didn't work. Develop more onto that.
Yep.
Don't waste your time on this
No,
anymore.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? So that's why I learned
Absolutely.
to do the distribution. That's why I learned how to get your own program on the air for free, schedule wise. Because no one knows that these tools exist out there. And there's literally companies that manage this information. And you can do it for free.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I've published
Oh, yeah.
2 books. I'm an author of 2 books that I've actually
Yup.
published.
Shameless plug.
And I, and,
Shameless
I-
plug.
and I own them.
You know what I mean?
Buying them.
And I
Oh, yeah.
spent not one chelito to make them.
But this is going piggybacking off your show. The fact that you don't need a lot of money, or if any money at all,
But
to
with
do certain
the
things.
knowledge that I gained from that, if someone came up to me off the street and said, you know, I'm trying to develop a book, but it costs this and that, don't worry about it. Look, this is the steps I did. You can get it done for free in no less than 24 hours.
Yep.
Wow.
So
Dude,
That's
that
why-
is
that's why I have
awesome,
them.
man. Dude, that is amazing. You guys are together.
Chris,
There's no word for you guys right now. I'm numb right now. Just hearing what you guys are saying. I'm no.
That's why,
The same.
as they say, I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none. You know.
No, I wouldn't say that.
No,
Why not?
no,
What do you mean?
Nah,
You're a jack of
man,
all
no
trades,
way
but
you
a
can say
master
that,
of
man.
some.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I'll take that one
I
too.
agree with her.
No, don't shortchange yourself.
Yeah,
Because you're the
man.
master at what you do.
Yeah, true.
Nobody can do what you do. You do what you do because you're unique.
I
Just like
just-
the
Absolutely.
two crazy Latinos.
True. What was the question, Louis?
So tell everybody that don't know what time is your live show tomorrow, and
So-
which platforms.
So the show is done every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It actually goes on the air on TV in Spectrum, RCN, and Verizon. Don't ask me what the channels is at the moment because there's so many. But we do simulcast for those who don't live in Queens or they're not in New York. We do simulcast on YouTube, on Twitch, on Instagram, and on Facebook. Both the Facebook profile and the page, they all receive the same feed, and we go on to all those platforms. So this way, if you're not able to get it in one of them, you're able to get it on another. So we legit go across the board to all those platforms
Nice.
at 4 p.m. And then, we put the edited versions of all the shows on YouTube.
Nice.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome.
Honestly, Chris and your wife, thank you so much for you guys.
Yeah.
You guys are simply amazing. You
No,
know,
thanks.
so-
Sorry. I just poked her in the eye. Yeah, look, there. Look, yeah. There, go ahead.
Nah, I just wanted to say that you guys are simply amazing. And
Oh, you guys
and
are.
you guys
honestly,
are.
Chris, I remember the day that you proposed to her.
Oh my god. Oh, the pee in my pants episode?
Which, no lie, I did two versions of that. One with and one without the music. And it was actually picked up by a network called This Right Minute or something.
Right this minute. Yeah.
That show
That was an accident, by the
for
way.
I think NBC or
No, it was
ABC?
no. Oh god. I
don't remember the
I'll remember
network
in a
channel
minute.
that they have the show that they run it on. They actually put that segment of the wedding in their show. They called us up and they played it and everything.
The proposal, not the wedding.
Yep. Well, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was on the air.
Yeah.
Legit, no, it was crazy. I think up to this day,
man.
it's had like 6,000 views or something.
We put it on YouTube, and people, like, even in my family, they were like, did you legit almost pee your pants? I said, I almost did. And the reason why is because the way he went about it, because I had in my head of what I thought would be done, and it didn't happen that way.
Minefields.
Yeah, like, he caught me for a loop. And besides the fact that I had drank, like, I don't know how much water before we went out anyway, so it was just like a combination. And then me uncontrollably nervous laughing on top of it. Like, I legit almost pissed my pants.
Yep.
I still think about it. I'm like, damn, I was close.
But thank you guys. I greatly appreciate you guys. And like I said, since the first day I met Louis and took him under my wing and I gave him my tutelage, he took whatever he learned and did even more. And like I said, from that day, you was always going to have me as a support no matter what. Remember, I keep my promises no matter what. It's literally tattooed across my chest by this one, but it was my grandmother's
I put
words.
a tattoo gun to his chest because I felt the only way to brand them without, burning him was that way. So, yeah, I did it.
It's one of the things that I take from my grandmother that passed away when I was 12. So she legit told me never to say anything promise-wise unless you're capable of doing it.
That's right.
So
your word is your bond.
Because that's the only thing I have in this world.
I hear you. And that's the reason why we're doing this podcast and why me and Louis are together. And let me tell you, I'm the same way, the way you feel about Louis, bro, I feel about him. And I torture him religiously. I torture him every day. And at the end of the day, you know what, man? That's my boy. That's my ride or die right there. And this is why we're doing the podcast, man. This is why we're doing what we're doing, man. And the show is exactly what it is, man. It's
Gotcha.
damn crazy Latinos, man.
No, definitely.
You know,
my wife wants to meet you and your wife.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Oh, yeah, because she heard the conversation yesterday.
Yeah.
Which conversation?
No, when I was doing the troubleshooting with Lewis with the
Uh-huh.
cameras, his wife was hearing what you were saying on the mic, and she's like, "Yo, that's my girl."
What did I say?
However, whatever you
I
said,
will neither
will
agree
connect.
nor deny said comment because it is plausible deniability. Was it a good thing? Because if it was, then I'll agree to it. If it wasn't,
You were
no.
asking me. I hardly remember what I did ate this morning.
I
She said that.
do
She
not
said
own
that
no
we're
record
alike.
or whatever.
Oh, that you
Like
Like
guys are
at the
alike.
moment,
Oh. And yet some
pleading
people
the
find me
fifth
very
right now.
difficult to get along with.
Sam is pleading the fifth right now.
I'm serious. Like people at work, some people at work find it hard to get along with me because I'm like, no, like I'm the type of person where I don't ask for respect, I demand it. Like there's a difference between asking and demanding. Like
Well, I
I
mean,
demand
Because
respect
you're
and I treat you a
Latina,
certain
that's
way.
why. That's
At
why.
the same time,
because you're
but
Latina.
I think it's more than the fact that I'm Latina. I think it's the fact that I'm old. I'm the oldest of 5 kids,
That's true too.
so I had to like demand my respect
I'm
because
just the middle child.
and then growing up during the era that I think we grew up in, growing
That's
up in
true
the
too.
80s, like I tell people, if you survive the 60s, 70s, and 80s, then you're good to go because I think this way, the 90s, if when you were born in the 90s and grew up in the 2000s, it's a little different. But when you grew up during the 80s, when you were drinking out of Johnny Punts where it had lead coming out of it,
Woo!
like you were legit, like
You know,
strong,
no,
like an
what
ox
was
type
it?
of deal. Like we're built different.
The water milk. What was it?
The
The
quarter waters?
yeah.
No, quarter waters is nothing but sugar and water. I'm talking about drinking out of a damn
Listen, what
street
you talking
fire
about?
hydrant.
That was a freaking delicacy. If you can get those and some chips, you were good.
Which one?
Any chips,
You were
like the corn chips
fine.
ones.
No. Do you know what it takes to put your mouth up to a fire hydrant now? People look at you like you're crazy.
Listen, that's the only water you were able to get.
Listen,
Yes.
when we scraped our knees on the street, we used to be like, yo, all right, you good, let's go. We got glass in it, all right. Don't come home crying because your
Listen,
mother
when
probably beat
when
your
they
ass.
never used to give you drinks in the house, you would go. I
Sugar
gotta use
water.
the bathroom.
Drink
the
water.
faucet.
What you talking about? I won't do it now because it's just because I've gotten a little bit older. But younger, I used to drink right out of the faucet. Like, yo, I'm thirsty. My mother would be like, yo, you want cold water? Go to the bathroom. The coldest water in the house was the bathroom water.
Yup.
Out of the bathroom sink. It was
Yup.
ironic. Like I
That
would
is
just,
very true.
it's weird. But I think 80s kids who were born in the 80s, in the early 80s, and grew up through the 80s into the 90s, we're built completely different.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that's why a lot of us aren't phased by certain things because we just did like a lot of off the wall crap.
True.
You do half the stuff we did when we were kids. If we do it now, we'd probably be in jail, like shooting each other with bottle rockets.
I neither claim nor deny any of the things you talk about.
I'm gonna claim it all because I used to sit there and throw firecrackers at my friends, and we used to fight
know nothing.
with bottle rockets all the time.
Nope.
We used to do that all the time.
Nope.
Come
I guess
on.
I should talk about the dry
We used to
ice,
do that all the time.
the Ronald McDonald doll that I tied up to a
Nope.
to my.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know
Yeah,
exactly
yeah,
what I'm talking about.
I'm gonna press the reset button.
No, sir. I think that's what made us who we are. That's why I think,
Yeah.
doing what we're doing, what they're doing with this and doing what we do, we're a different brood of beings. Like, we are not the typical people. Like, now people who look at us, they're like, yo, y'all crazy. No, that was actually pretty normal back in the days.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
It was.
Mhm.
It pretty much was.
Oh
That's
yeah.
very true.
I never let go of it. I never did let go
Well,
of it.
no, I mean that's what makes us who we are today.
Yeah.
Then I wouldn't be me.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't change nothing. It is literally what has gotten me to this point. So why change?
But listen, you guys are beyond awesome. Again, thank you so much for tonight. It means the world to us.
No,
We look
thank you
forward to having
guys.
you guys back on. And you know what? When everything settles, we all got to get together. But more than anything else, need to make
Definitely.
sure that young lady that's standing there right next to you comes home every single damn night from what she does every day. Because you know what? She's my inspiration. She's Lewis's inspiration. She's everybody's inspiration. That you know what? She deals with something so crazy that we never thought we would be going through. And you know what, man? Thank you so much, really, for what you do.
Of course.
Because I know so many people that have passed over COVID. Lewis knows a bunch of people too.
Yeah.
It's just been we all do. And we never thought this was going to happen. But the bottom line, thank you to both of you guys so much. And again, to everybody that tuned in tonight, you guys are amazing. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. Watch Lunch Break tomorrow at 4 o'clock.
Yep.
And catch them on Twitch, catch them on Facebook, on all platforms that they're on.
Yeah.
They're amazing, incredible individuals. We'll see you guys soon. Lizette, I see you on, girl. Thanks for coming out to the show, girl.
Thank you, everyone.
Love
Everyone.
Miss everybody out there in person, but we'll catch up soon. Thank you.
Definitely.
All right,
Catch you guys later. Night.